Right, my man. How you all right there?
I'm cool.
Yeah?
I'm wrapped up. I'm ready to roll.
Cool. Shall we get going?
Oh, see what you did there?
I've been waiting all day to do that.
Let's get going, Elliot.
Awesome. All right, let's rock this. Welcome back to another edition of the Elliot Reeves Show. I am Elliot Reeves, your host, and today's guest is the one and only Mr. Mike McGrail. Mike, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Elliot. Sorry. We've just been having a proper giggle before we started recording, and now I'm about to break into giggles.
That's going to be the intro clip.
Yeah.
That bit of hilarity that we had.
Yeah, that's good. There was quite a lot.
Yeah, it's good, eh?
Wasn't all safe for work.
Yeah, that's true. So, man, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
My voice is gravelier than usual because I'm a wee bit choked up, but
Sorry to hear that.
the show must go on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really good. Things are going very well. I'm a busy chap, but absolutely thriving on that, so can't complain.
Awesome. So for people that are watching or listening, maybe if you can start by giving a bit of a kind of elevator pitch, bio, intro as to who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, so I'm a marketer by trade, have been since leaving university back in 2005, which is obviously a fairly long time ago now. And my thing has always been social media marketing, content marketing. Started doing that for brands in 2007, talking MySpace and Bebo and stuff like that. So a long time ago, I've kind of lived through all the changes of that. And, became fairly successful in terms of blogging and public speaking. And yeah, I just kind of do my thing, and I've always been very much out there and trying to bring people along on the kind of journey and try and help people and add a bit of value wherever I can. And just at the turn of this year, I launched a new business called Get-Go Studio, which is a video production company in Edinburgh. I think the reason that I started that, I don't think the reason I started that, I know the reason that I started that was kind of twofold. Basically, clients were starting to say, hey, Mike, we need to do video, but we have no idea how to go about it. So I started pulling together teams on the production side, wrote things, directed things, loved that, and then thought there's something to go here. With a couple of false starts, there was a company called, it was never a company, but Chimp House Media.
Yeah.
We spoke about that back in the day. Say back in the day, that's like 2 years ago maximum. Velocity Insight, which is meant to be an offshoot of Velocity Digital, my marketing consultancy. Then I hated that. And now, finally, after a lot of back and forth, settled on Get-Go Studio. And the little bit of thing with Get-Go is that I've got a space where people can come and get professional film done, but we also shoot on location with marketing at the forefront of our thinking for it. So that's where I'm at now, and that's me.
It's really cool. Yeah.
And I have a life outside of work. Jesus, that sounds like I do nothing else other than work.
I think if you're passionate about your work, that, makes up a big part of your life. There's nothing wrong with that. Provided you're striking some kind of a balance.
That's it, yeah. Totally. Totally.
One of my, I don't know if I would call him a mentor, but a previous guest, Dan Pena, says there's no such thing as work-life balance.
No, there's not. Well,
it's just life.
It's life, I think.
Or just work.
I think if it's just work and you hate what you do for a living, then that's a disaster.
Yeah.
I think if you can do something that really, really drives you forward and still have the right life on the side of that or built around that, which is what I'm trying to do, then yeah, there's no such thing as work-life balance because you don't even really think about it.
Yeah.
If you're getting up every day and going, Jesus, I hate this for 9-10 hours a day, then going home and taking that into the home, then there's no balance there because actually work's just screwing you up continually. Yeah.
Don't want to be that guy.
Nah.
Definitely not.
You do not, especially if there's kids involved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really interesting watching your journey from an outside perspective. I sort of think of you as a kind of serial creator, serial entrepreneur, because it's like you have, in the time that we've known each other, which has been a couple of years, you've had a lot of different sort of ventures and sort of experimenting with stuff. Like, how has it led to you doing what you're doing now?
I don't know. I think that the thing for me is that I always have a need to be doing something new, and that can be brilliant, but it can also be hugely detrimental because I get very excited about something. You know, I thought I had this amazing piece of marketing software in the last 3 years, and I started telling the world that I was going to make it, and then I just couldn't, and I felt like a complete plonker. Plonker, what a great word.
That's so underused, that one nowadays.
Plonker and Wazik. I don't know if that's one from the 80s.
Yeah.
But and then I'm like putting this out there, and I've got a website, and I'm like, I don't know how to build this thing. And funnily enough, nobody will come and build it with me without money. And then I think a lot of people must look at some of the stuff I've done, and I always am so very public about it, and that makes it sound like I've got some audience of millions of people. I obviously don't, but within certain circles, I know there's a lot of people kind of keep an eye on what I'm doing, and that's great. I've kind of worked hard to create that.
Yeah.
But and then I get really ridiculously excited about something, and I put it out there, and then it doesn't happen, and then I go, oops. And that is an exact output of my dad.
Right,
so
okay.
My dad has various businesses, always has. He's 63 now, no sign of slowing down. He's kind of young these days, really, but
Yeah.
well, not young, but and he is as impulsive as I am, and my wife blames him for that, and and I 100% see it. I think now with the video and film production side of things, as soon as I put all the other stuff I've been trying to do on the side, and it became clear that I potentially had some sort of capability around this, I was like, I want to make this happen. And like we said there, I went through a couple of iterations, and now I'm gung ho in there. I mean, I'm knee deep in this. There's no going back. I've got premises, I've got gear, I've got projects underway and projects about to be launched. So I don't know why, but this has really, really reignited a lot of passion. That's such an overused word, but marketing stuff, which I still love, I was getting a wee bit jaded in.
Right.
But I see this as part of that, and this is like the new invigoration of all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think now, we've been working really hard. I've been bringing in guys, and we've been working on some crazy projects, and it's very hard work, but I'm absolutely loving it, and that's a sign that it doesn't matter how hard it is. Everything's relative anyway.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm loving it, so it's a very good sign.
Yes.
And I can't just shut this down now. It's not a case of switching a landing page off on the web like the software was. This is like bricks and mortar business.
Exactly, yeah. You're in.
And that's it.
Does that make you feel a bit kind of...
It's quite odd, actually, on the first of the month getting a bill for a premises, because I used to have offices back in the day when I had a team around Velocity. But trying to create a place where people come to part with their money and get a service in returns are very interesting things. I've never been there before. It comes down to that experience. It's like customer experience from the moment they walk through the door. How do they feel? How do we make them ready to perform in front of camera, which for a lot of people, particularly business people that are coming to the studio and using it, it's the first time they've ever done it. So yeah, it's trying to just mold this thing to get people working. So that makes you think on a whole different level of, ooh, it's an actual place.
Yes, definitely, yeah. It's interesting. I'll go off on a bit of a tangent and see if I can bring this back on track. But I was chatting to you beforehand about Inspired Edinburgh. Like when I started that off originally, my ambition or vision for it was never to create a sort of production company. That's very much something that's been driven by demand. And I can say, I am passionate about it, but it was never like my mission or my purpose. That was always the podcast, the interview show, and having, powerful or fascinating conversations. So do you think that your business has been a response to a demand, or because video has grown, or has it been something that has been a passion and has been fueled by that? At what stage do those things intersect? Yeah,
I mean, I think I'd be lying if I didn't say that I saw this as an opportunity to potentially grow a successful business. Honestly, a lot of it stems from I've been doing a lot of short videos within LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Since they launched the native thing, I was one of the first in the UK to get access, and I saw how it was working. And people were saying, how do we do this? And I thought, right, there's an opportunity there. And again, I don't really like the term entrepreneur or entrepreneurship, but that's part of an entrepreneur's makeup, is you look at an opportunity and you say, how can I solve that problem?
Mm-hmm.
How can I capitalize on that? So forget passion and purpose and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's always that thing. But like I said, I think, when we started doing these projects, I just felt really driven to go and try and learn it and learn the art and just improve myself a bit further, because I was probably stagnating a little bit in terms of, I know social media marketing,
Mm-hmm.
I know content marketing, I know how to create an audience. So how do I add another string to my bow? And I think it was that kind of constant want to push myself forward, and I hadn't been doing that, and that's always dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the future of online video?
I mean, it's only going to go up from here. I think we're in a very interesting place right now where we have huge amounts of long form video that are still very important, but we're still pushing forward into this micro area,
Mm-hmm.
like looking at the rise of Instagram stories, looking at the fact that now everybody can produce video to a certain standard with the right bit of guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is with anything, there's a saturation point, and
Yeah.
we're on the verge of that already. LinkedIn's a really interesting one because it's far from a trendy platform, but it's really come up in the last 2 years. And I think when you see something like that going, we need to do video, and then they bring in the native video, then you go, that's another platform that's riddled with video.
Yeah.
So where does it all start to grow out from here?
Uh-huh.
Maybe nowhere, maybe that's it,
So, but I mean, that then puts such a pressure on sort of competition or making the content that you produce stand out. What have you got any advice for people around that?
I think being real is so important in this day and age.
Yeah.
It shouldn't always be about glitzy branded content. It should be, who are our people, who are the people behind this business, and let's put them out there. And again, on LinkedIn, that's what you see working the best. It's that authentic connection to people, not actually overproduced as well. I was speaking in London last week. I was talking about, are we at peak influencer? And it was kind of this thing of around, is the influencer market saturated? Have things like the Fire Festival brought it to the general public's awareness in a way that they're starting to not trust that? And my kind of end point there was, if you're going to work with influencers, fine. But what about all the people within your businesses that, or you as the business owner, that could actually create that authenticity? Because that's something that marketers liked about influencers, was they're authentic, they're a person, and we're going to tap into that. But there's people within your business in your life that could, yes, they don't have that immediate audience, but so yeah, I think you have to be real and not be scared to kind of have that raw attitude to things.
Yeah. What's the best advice that you would give to people around kind of confidence on camera or being comfortable, with their sort of delivery and stuff? I know that's something that you're quite interested in.
Yeah, I mean, when we're working on Get-Go projects, my key role is not technical. It's the all the production, but then it's actually when we're on set or someone's in Get-Go, how do I help them get the best out of that experience and that opportunity? So I think you really do need to practice. Get a camera in front of you and give it a go and watch it back and watch, because what immediately happens is people aren't themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They will become more serious, or they might go the other way and become this kind of daft character trying to laugh because they're nervous. And so you need to, and it's painful. I mean, it's always painful watching yourself unless you're some sort of like narcissist. It's like you've got to watch yourself.
I love
back.
watching myself.
Yeah. I'm watching myself now 1, 2, 3. I can see myself, and yeah, I look terrible. It's getting the confidence to put something out there.
Yeah.
And one of the worst things for an audience is watching someone who's incredibly uncomfortable in front of camera, and feeling like they're there because someone's held a marketing gun to their head and say, go and make a video. That's just never going to work. So it's just about practicing and feeling confident and knowing what you need to say, but never scripting it word for word.
Okay.
Had a scenario recently, and I send a guide to everyone that's going to appear in a video. Here's how to prepare. And it'll be like, you need to know your key points. and try and memorize a few bullet points that will be in your mind as you're speaking to the camera, but do not write it word for word. Because what you start panicking about is, am I about to say the word that was in the script? Whereas another word that might just pop into your mind would do the same job.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't apply if it's a film or theatre or something, obviously, but if it's for want of a better term, a corporate style video, don't feel like you have to be word perfect. Ums and ahs are actually okay because they're a natural part of human language.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be this robotic kind of horrible thing.
I've been producing a few pitch videos, like Scottish Edge pitches and the like, and I use a teleprompter. What are your thoughts on those?
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about investing in something like that for Gecko.
Right,
I think nice. Maybe you should have scripted me. But I don't know. I think there's a time and a place for them as long as the person is comfortable with it. Because again, if it's like they're reading, the eye line has to be spot on, and there's various technical factors to take into consideration there. So yeah, I think if someone is really not going to manage it, and it's something as important as a pitch, then yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, we were on a job last week, and we had to end up bringing out the flip chart and getting the person to write down bullet points, and that was behind the camera, and then we had to line it up perfectly so they weren't looking up or sideways or So yeah, there's ways you can help, but teleprompters maybe it just sounds very newsreadery and sort of.
Yeah, it can do. Yeah.
But I mean, what are some of the kind of things that you've seen people doing to make themselves more comfortable, or what do you advise people to do?
Yeah, I'm kind of led by these days a lot of the sort of spiritual meditative practices.
Okay.
There's a great thing that I have done with a couple of people, and it'll sound maybe a bit new agey or woo to some people, but I heard and I don't know if I'm doing this exactly right, but it was inspired by Tony Robbins. I was listening to a podcast that he did with Tim Ferriss.
Yep.
And he kind of spoke Tim through this exercise, which I think really is centered around gratitude. So what I often do with people is I tell them to put their hands on their heart,
right,
close their eyes, and just like take a few deep breaths.
Hear the snot.
Yeah. Take a few deep breaths. And then think about someone or something that you love, like truly that you would give your life for this thing or person.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
So and then in your head, just repeat, half a dozen times, I love Gary Vaynerchuk. It's not going to work for you now, mate. But
I'm already comfortable.
I love, and just say the thing over and over in your head a few times whilst focusing on your breathing, and then just open your eyes again and just sort of relax into the moment. And that just completely shifts people from being in a state of, anxiety or pressure or, I mean, a lot of it is probably driven by how are people going to perceive me? And like, yes, fear of judgment, I think, is a big part of it. And so the transformation that people go through after doing that is it's dramatic. You can see it, and everything's relaxed. They're more in flow. They're at ease. Yeah, so that's my favorite thing.
I like that,
I really like doing that.
Yeah, last week there was someone completely uncomfortable, and we actually just got them to stand up, wave their arms in the air, and go, and it totally woke them up. And then we just, every time the energy dropped, we just got them to do that again. That worked for them. Some folk would be like, I'm not doing that. You're going to make me look even sillier.
But that's anything that basically challenges, I suppose, like the ego, or that sort of whatever it is that gets in the way of us just being our, it sounds a bit wanky, but like authentic selves, or just like channeling like, this is who I am, fuck the world, I don't care about what other people think of me, I'm just going to be me and say what I think.
Totally.
But so many people, like, they're buried under either like layers of masks, and I don't mean that in a fake way, I just mean like they've become so conditioned by like the outer world and the external influences on them that they've lost who they truly are. And
That's because the world's continually, and even more so, it seems, on a weekly basis, trying to tell us how to live our lives.
it absolutely is.
I am so fed up of reading LinkedIn posts, Instagram posts, tweets about do this to be a good person, do that to be your whole self, do this to live your best life.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like people have had good lives in the past without social media telling them and people telling them how to live their lives.
Yeah.
Now, there are people like one of my best mates, Gavin Oates, who actually have the experience and the right way of thinking to help you feel better about yourself or, drive yourself forward.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a bunch of people out there who just think that because they've got an audience, they can start trying to inform people about how to live a good life, how to be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you put someone in front of camera, if they're immediately thinking, oh, how's this going to go down on LinkedIn? What about Instagram? Am I going to look good enough?
Yeah.
Is my hair nice?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, we're at a point where people are thinking more about what the reaction is going to be. And it's not even to the content, it's to them as a person.
Yeah.
How's this going to go down when it goes out there? And that's worrying.
It is worrying. I think there's something massively liberating about just not giving a shit about anyone else. What other people think is a good sort of like counter to that.
And like,
but also like I suppose, I don't know if this is entirely germane, but like practice. Just putting out more content. The more and more stuff that you put out in terms of video, the less attached you get to the views and the outcome of like one piece, because you're continually trying to create this masterpiece and wanting loads and loads of eyes on it.
Yeah.
But actually just going through that creation process and doing it time and time again, that you'll learn a lot more from than just trying to nail it like in a one-er.
You're never going to nail it.
No.
I mean, I think about 6 years ago, I put out the first video about me. It was part of, actually, it's what turned into the Velocity Digital podcast. So the Velocity Marketing podcast, I sat myself down in the office I was working out of at the time and started doing a weekly recap of all the social media news. And I tried to make it entertaining and add and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And it went down pretty well, but then I found out it was taking me a day to produce something like that. So, anywho, I recently watched the first one. And
I've seen that on YouTube.
Oh my God.
It's got like a backdrop and stuff. In
Yeah,
it.
that's like, that was the wall in the office. And, and it was like, watching that going, oh my God, I was so clearly uncomfortable. And at the time I thought I wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, so it's taken me like 6 years to be comfortable with doing that. And I think I'm trying to use that experience when I'm working with people on the video perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think there's also a fact that you can't ignore, that not everybody's going to be comfortable in front of camera. So do not force it. Yes. There's people who are brilliant writers, there's people who are brilliant artists, and that's the way that they want to communicate because it suits them more. Not this horrible forced message of you have to be on video. Yeah. You can't have a successful business unless you do video. It's bollocks. It's not true. If you go about it right, it can absolutely accelerate your success or open up a new customer base or a new audience or whatever. But no, forcing it's a bad idea. Definitely. Yeah. I had a question in my mind that I wanted to ask you, and I've let it slip. But I was keen to get onto the what do you hate about the world at the moment type stuff, because you're very good at that. Actually, the question that I had before that was to what extent do you care about what other people think of you? That was what I was thinking, and we'll do that first. Yeah. But then I wanted to kind of get the ball rolling on the things that, because I love hearing you're so open, honest, and frank about things, which I personally find so refreshing, because not many people are willing to be like that. Yeah. And so I enjoy listening to your perspectives on that. But we'll start with I've forgotten what it was, mate. What other people think of you? What other people think? So I was 37 last week, and I think it's probably only in the last couple of years that I've been quite comfortable with trying to think to myself, I actually don't give a shit. Deep down, I definitely do, and I think every human does. I think there's various levels of it.
Yeah.
There's a huge thing for me right now of imposter syndrome.
Right, okay.
I've launched a video production company. I'm not a cameraman.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people will have raised eyebrows with some people, even in the video and film production circles within Edinburgh. I know for a fact that some people are like, how does he think he can do that? I actually don't give a shit because I know I can, and we're already producing work.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that I don't care is because I'm not pretending to be something I am. And I'm saying, I'm building this company. I handle production and direction. Guess what? I'm not a producer or a director either, but I'm learning and I'm open about it. So I still do care, but nowhere near how I used to. You know, if I was doing this, if we lived in this kind of full-scale social media world when I was even 27, anytime I did anything online, I would be like, oh, I don't know about this. I'm really worried about how people are going to react. But 37, getting a bit wiser. I've got a troll. There's like a guy who just does not like me.
I think that's the guy that commented in our interview, our Inspired Edinburgh interview.
Was it?
I'm sure he did. It's like, do you know what you're doing to people's lives? Do you know how arrogant you come across?
It's that guy. It wasn't that guy.
You got another one.
Oh, Jesus. I think I do come across as quite arrogant.
Really?
And I think that people think that about me that have never actually met me. It's that classic thing of like, you see a guy and he's maybe quite confident, and of course that's arrogance, isn't it? Well, there's two different things. I'm actually a pretty insecure guy. There's a troll who he first started coming after me on Twitter, and then he just used to batter every LinkedIn video, and he was just like, hates me for absolutely no reason.
Do you know his name?
I do.
Would you name him?
No.
Really?
Because I don't want to give him the coverage.
Okay.
You know.
What do you do when he posts on your stuff?
I always respond and I say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but here's why I'm giving this advice, or here's why that's my opinion. And then I said to him, let's meet for a coffee, expecting to be like, no. And he said, yeah, no worries. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So he's based in Glasgow, and I'm actually very rarely in Glasgow, but the next time I do have time, I'm going to go and do it. I'm going to sit down and be like, hey man, like what's up? Because I don't think,
right.
like,
Really?
I'm honestly not about, like, he says, oh, you try to fleece people and all that. I'm like, I'm really not, and I never have done. So, actually, you asked me about the video earlier, which, when I was trying to find the property.
Uh-huh.
And I'm bringing that up because, quick bit of context, when I was trying to find this space for the studio was proving very difficult. And I found a great space. The council owned it. Edinburgh Council, the deposit was going to be £25,000. It was just absurd.
What?
Yeah, what world do we live in where that is even viable for a new business? So I went on LinkedIn and I made this video about how difficult it is and how this is like really stifling a lot of new businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went off. People saying, a lot of it was negative, saying, oh, Mike, you should never be handed anything. Don't expect to be handed anything. And I was like, that's not my point here. But then this one guy, and it wasn't that troll, started really attacking me, saying, I've done my research on you. I've used 10 years of journalistic expertise to research you. And I'm like, nice when you Googled me. Calling me a fraud. I've asked around all these industries and people say you're a fraud. And I'm like, no, I can honestly say there would not be a person who would seriously say that about me. Mm. And this guy just went on and on and on. Then I start getting direct messages, private messages on LinkedIn saying, can't believe this guy, what he's saying. He started getting like, what's the term? It's just gone right. He started being homophobic. And he's like, oh, look at all Mike and all his bum chums sucking up.
Seriously?
And all that. And so everybody starts reporting him and he gets banned.
So it sounds like a hate crime.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. People are getting arrested for less nowadays.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, also, I'm not gay. Like, so it was just a totally bizarre thing. Mm-hmm. And he got banned. But then he somehow got back on and he came back. But he didn't realise that every time he was commenting, he was just pushing it further and further and further out there.
Yeah.
And that video actually led to me finding the space that the studio's in now. But the reason I went there was because that's the first time I felt actually a wee bit scared and really down about how someone was treating me online, because it was horrible, like really horrible. And it turns out this guy had been barred from every networking event in Glasgow over the years for bullying people. And actually, he was a video production company of 25 years. And I looked on his website and I was like, oh my God, this guy says he does TV commercials for £200 a pop. And it basically looked to me like his business was dying, and he was starting to feel threatened by people like me who are going, we're going to take this modern approach to it. But that one really, really concerned me. And I actually wanted to know a bit more about the guy, and I looked him up on Company's House. And his business address is his home.
Right.
And I'm thinking, if I was an unstable guy and you're abusing me like this, and it was actually like, I live in South Queensferry, he lived in Kirkliston, which is a 5-minute drive. And I'm going, if I was the type, I could be at your door right now.
Jesus. Yeah.
And then I'm like, God, this guy doesn't understand what he's doing here. So that was the first time I went home to my wife, Julie, and I went, I feel really sick about this and a wee bit like shell-shocked. So that's different to just how you think about people's general perception of you. The problem with that one was they always say never feed a troll, but he was making these claims that people that, because it was going so far and wide, I think it got 42,000 views.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my
and it's still going. Occasionally it'll get a like.
That's so linked
when
to
that goes far and wide, people who have no idea who I am are seeing what he's saying about me, and all of a sudden, well, Mike must be those things because someone's so angry and saying those. So I had to answer every single time.
Well, it's what people say, never argue with an idiot, because people won't know who's who.
Yeah. Love it, yeah.
But to that guy, like, our mutual buddy Chris Marr is very quick to say, like, success isn't a zero-sum game. He could find his own clients. It doesn't. He should his being threatened by you starting a business doesn't mean that he can't still be successful. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But trolls online, man, jeez.
Do you know the funniest line that's just come into my head from one of his retorts was that someone's going to die on one of your sets because you don't know what you're doing. I was like, what? Seriously? Somebody could die here, and I'm like, this is serious. Like that Sony might just jump out and just kill someone.
Drone might fall on their head.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Sorry.
I'm actually running through in my head, like, what potential ways could somebody even die?
A light could fall.
Electrocuted somehow.
Yeah, or like, I mean, we did film
trip over a cable.
Yeah, we did film in -22 2 weeks ago in a giant cold storage centre, which, by the way, 90% of the stock was for Brexit, in case it all goes tits up.
Interesting. Are we going there, Mike? Are we going?
Nah.
Are we having a Brexit debate, Mike?
Oh God.
I think we might be.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
We'll just wrap up the trolls then. So I've had a few. Like, in the main, my stuff has never really received. Well, fortunately, it's not received a huge amount of negative feedback. Even like my channels, like Inspired Edinburgh, this hasn't had a massive amount of views yet. But Inspired Edinburgh, like the upvote percentage is sort of like 98 or something, like 97% for the channel. You probably account for the other 3%. You and your trolls. But like a few, the Dan Pena episode in particular, because that got a lot of traffic. That had some like brutal attacks, personal attacks
on YouTube.
Like, yeah. Like
YouTube's a horrible place.
What could be considered as borderline hate crimes,
Jesus.
And I'm just like, I don't really know how best to deal with trolls. A lot of people say, do you know what? Just don't feed the troll. Just ignore them. Yeah. I'm not somebody that cares about deleting comments. I'm quite happy to just be like, if I don't like it, I'll just get rid of it. Like, I'm not having that there.
Yeah.
But it's some of them were like that actually proper sort of nasty. slightly affected me.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, what's the archetypal troll? Like, who are they? What do they do? Why do they feel motivated to be like that? I just see it as so like unnecessary.
You could probably sum them up in one word, and I thought about this a lot about that guy, and I actually started worrying about that guy's mental health. Miserable.
Yeah.
They're probably so pissed off with their lives that they try and somehow vent that by being this anonymous person online who just attacks people. Like Casey Neistat, who actually I only started watching about 6 months ago.
Seriously?
I was aware of this guy,
What?
and I'm kind of anti mega influencer.
Okay.
And then I thought I'm going to start watching this guy, and then actually started getting a real appreciation of how he shoots everything and all that. But then I really like the guy. Some of the comments on his videos are outrageous. Oh, he's so ugly. Oh, his face scares me. No wonder he hides his eyes and all this stuff. I'm like, who thinks they have the right to do that? And that's why that's all the toxicity of social media. And unfortunately, sometimes that spills over versus the positives of social.
Yeah. I don't really know how best to deal with that. I don't think increased regulation or kind of policing social media is going to make the world a better place necessarily. I just think people need to be probably more resilient in terms of dealing with trolls and just being like, it's not my problem. Like what other people think of me is nothing to do with me. That's them.
I mean, the social platforms themselves probably could do more, but the problem is that requires money, that requires people.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a lot of automated things they can do, but it's a really tricky one. And I think that the awful shooting in Christchurch, the footage of that was streamed live, and then people started passing it around via social media. And there was a UK MP who said, he actually tweeted YouTube saying, you need to stop all uploads to YouTube right now until this blows over.
What?
Now, everybody starts tweeting saying, what, you want to censor everybody from putting something onto YouTube because of this, albeit horrendous situation, and the video that's come out of that.
Yeah.
He's saying, yes, it's the only way to deal with it. And you're going, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because then at what level do you say you're trolling? If somebody goes on to one of my videos and says, do you know what, Mike, I just really don't like the way you do things.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's their opinion. Is it a bit mean? Maybe.
Yeah.
But they're actually not saying something versus, Mike, you are such a peely-wally, horrible Scotsman. That's not right. There's various things there. It's a personal attack. It's starting to get, a bit of racism or whatever. So it's varying degrees, and man, I would absolutely hate to be in charge of one of these networks, these platforms. Just no thanks.
Yeah. Well, I've become quite. So for the last few months, I don't know. Perhaps part of it is just a means of becoming more well informed, or just I don't even know what sort of started it. Perhaps I think really what happened was I started. I became pally with guys who were more involved in the kind of political space, and that then led me into listening to a lot of sort of the alternative media around politics and whatnot. And there's a lot of creators on YouTube and across the platforms that have massive followings, and that they're sort of, I guess they're like social political commentators, and how a lot of them have been deplatformed, or they've had their Patreon account shut down, or they've had
demonetized.
And I'm so conflicted on that sort of thing as well, because you're right. Like, at what stage are you then just encroaching on people's freedom of speech? And I personally am not for that at all. I think people should be allowed to say basically what they want to say.
Definitely. And these tools allow for that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits of them when it's not at a sort of crazy level.
Yeah.
That is hatred or, prejudice or whatever. But I totally agree. I think that you can't just start shutting things down because there's potentially some nasty things going on. I mean, oh God. Like, can you imagine being Theresa May? Well, no. She really operates on rails, eh? Like, she just like moves around, speak, back, forth. Fucking hell. I mean, her dancing is like, geez. Oh.
Yeah.
Now, I'm being nasty about someone now, but I think it must be so difficult if you're choosing me and you think, I'm going to look at Twitter. And you're just like,
Yeah.
you get the hardest job in the world right now, basically, and then everyone's just that, slating you. You can't do any right. And that's a nasty thing where there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide, other than just shutting yourself off from the world. And then that brings problems itself, you know?
Yeah. Right, man, I think we're there. Thoughts on Brexit? I'd never intended for the conversation to go here, but I mean...
Do you know something? And I'm going to put this out there before we go down this route. In the last few weeks, I've hardly paid any attention to it. I know all the big things that are happening. Woke up the morning of the result of the vote and felt sick when I read it. I thought, what is going on? This is bizarre.
You mean the original, like, very first Brexit vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Felt betrayed by the elder... not the elderly. That's I don't care. The elderly, basically, who made a huge amount of them made this decision that's not even going to affect them because they'll be dead, like soon enough. Do you know what I mean? That properly enraged me. Like
really?
my parents and my parents-in-law said, "We think we know the answer, but how do you want us to vote in this?"
Okay.
Like they knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They're like, "This is really going to be your and your
really?
kids' legacy." So. And we were, of course, we were both strong. No, we remain.
Really? See, I actually didn't vote because I was away, but I'm a Brexiteer.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm pro Brexit.
Are
you? Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was anti-Scottish independence, pro Brexit.
Why is that?
Yeah. On which?
On Brexit, and we're not going down into F, man. Don't even
on Brexit. It was ironically largely about sort of sovereignty. Which I know is, it doesn't hold water because you voted against Scottish independence. It's different. It's completely different. I look at things completely in isolation. The amount that we were, in a monetary sense, giving to the EU every year, frankly, I just thought was money not well spent.
Sure.
Being part of the European Union, I saw potential, like, hazards with it longer term. You can read into a lot of these things like the Lisbon Treaty, like, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is, like, as time goes on, you sort of lose your memory of your original intention sort of diminishes, so whilst I would have been well read and known all the facts then, I can barely recite one now, but basically it was to do with, I just thought we were better as the United Kingdom without being part of the European Union.
Yeah, and that
primarily,
it almost just felt like a bad idea to me. I did read some stuff, pro and cons and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I knew it would be an utter chaos.
Oh yeah, that was always going to
always.
Yeah.
Like if Scotland had voted to leave the UK, it would still be in the middle of all the stuff,
Yeah.
And I think that it's gone the way that it's gone the way that everybody really dreaded it going the way of, and now we're in this mess where the people are going, well, we don't know, we don't have exact percentages, but people are going, oh no, why did I do that? I mean, like the news that morning, they're stopping people in the street. Oh, I voted leave. Why? I don't know. I only had two choices. I went for that one.
Yeah.
What? And that's what, like, referendums in their very essence are dangerous.
Yeah.
Because in my, you should use your vote in a general election. If you're unsure in a referendum and there's no middle option, don't use your vote. You can't have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people going, I'm not really sure about this. I'm going to, instead of keeping the status quo, I'm going to do the opposite without knowing what that might bring. Like that's just my general opinion.
Yeah,
but
I see it as voting as a right, and so even if you are uninformed or uneducated. I mean, that's just part of voting, unfortunately.
No.
Because if I was going to be idealistic, I would say, well, you need a certain level of qualification or education, or you need to be a certain type of individual to be able to even vote, or the age is another thing. Should people 16 or thereabouts be allowed to vote? Well, no, I don't think they should be. Personally, because I think the majority of them aren't voting based on knowledge and education. That's might not be a popular view. It's just my view.
No, I get that, and I think that my main problem is that if you vote without really being informed in a general election, you're talking about 4 years. Whereas the
forever
NDREF and Brexit are forever. Interestingly, if the Scottish referendum came back around, I would be voting yes.
How would you have voted?
I voted no originally.
We've spoken about this actually. I'm actually. I could easily be persuaded into voting yes these days. Because I interviewed Tommy Sheridan. Tommy's a very persuasive and sort of influential speaker. And he was right. I mean, I'm not an SNP voter, and I'm not a big supporter of the SNP. And I think the problem is for the Scottish Independents, a lot of people see the SNP and the Independents vote as being synonymous. It's like one and the same. If you're voting for independence, you have to be voting for the SNP. But I mean, in 25 years' time, you would hope an independent Scotland would be the emergence of other viable parties, and that you would then have the opportunity to vote. I mean, obviously you would at the moment, but there's not really a huge amount of competition for the SNP in Scotland.
They're very quiet.
But I can definitely see the upside of being an independent country now. In the face of all your Brexit stuff, man, it's just a disaster. It really is. Even as somebody that would be a no voter, I didn't ever think we would have a situation whereby, the way that I see it at the moment is that politicians aren't upholding a democratic vote. They're basically not doing what the public asked of them. And as close a vote as it was, if that was the decision, that's what you need to uphold. And not have this kind of botched job half Brexit deal where we're still kind of part of the European Union. It's like all or nothing. And if you kibosh the whole thing and you don't actually then deliver on Brexit at all, it's like, well, what does that say? What's the point in even voting then?
Well, that's it. And then they're saying that no, there can't be a second referendum because it was a democratic choice the first time round. But like you're saying there, Elliot, actually what's emerging isn't what was chosen. So that just makes a mockery of everything. There's a petition going round this morning, and there's like 1 million signatures on it now, and it's gaining pace. But everybody's saying, what's the point? Because it's not going to get the attention it deserves. And who knows? It's just ongoing. I mean, so my eldest son is Louis. He will be 7 in May, and just round the corner from our house, there's a family, a guy or whatever, and he's got these 4 massive flags in the front lawn, and they're all about voting yes in the NDREF, but also voting to stay as part of Europe. And Louis said to me, what are all those flags? And I was like, all right, here we go. How am I going to explain this all to him? And instead of just dismissing it as, they're just Scotland flags, I went, right, well, this one is because of this, and this one's because of that. And he went, Daddy, I just don't understand why we'd want to leave all that. And I went, there you go. So I've told him, and obviously my viewpoints, which you maybe shouldn't do as a parent, try and give the neutrality, but he couldn't get his head around it. And then he asked me, what, so who's in charge of all this? And I was like, well, nobody. It's like, this is like the worst, the worst example of leadership maybe I've ever seen.
I think no, I don't want to say that actually, because I was going to say the majority of people that voted no would have done so on this basis, but I can't say that for sure. The problem is I can't sort of vividly remember the primary pros. I don't want to make myself seem
I can't either,
uneducated or whatever around the situation, because at the time, well, I didn't vote anyway, but I was much more well read on it. But I think principally people voted to leave because the EU had like too much control over the UK, and we were paying money into like £39 billion per year. We're one of the biggest net contributors to the EU, and it's just like, for what?
Yeah, per capita didn't make sense.
Yeah,
but a lot of that's the same argument for leaving the union. We pay too much in. You know.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting when you think about Indie Ref, because so much of it was pinned on oil, and then in the last 2-3 years, oil's been a disaster, and of course it'll come back again. But yeah, and it was oil and whiskey, and then global exports of Scotch whiskey started declining, and you're going, right, okay. So,
I know.
You know, there's all these. Anyway, I mean, it's going to come back around, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
And it'll be very interesting to see.
Definitely.
How it goes.
Yeah. What at the moment in the world is irritating you the most?
Oh, Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
As a platform, I love it, but it's just this continual bullshit of, here I am, everything's amazing. Like,
oh, right, okay.
My life is amazing. My business is amazing.
Okay.
There's never any struggle. It's like, nah, I just don't buy that. And I actually started thinking about doing an account where I'm like, do you want to see what it's like running a business? Here's a photo of my Excel spreadsheet trying to work out if I can survive the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Or here's me on the phone for an hour and a half to my accountant because, and actually, I hope he's not listening, I doubt it, he can't give me a straight answer on anything.
Okay.
Sorry, Donald. And then like 90 minutes later, I'm going, Jesus Christ, I could have achieved so much that. And just these little, I don't know.
You posted a time lapse recently of setting up your stuff that must have. I mean, it was probably about 90 seconds of time lapse,
42.
which probably was it 42?
Yeah.
So that's about 8 hours in real time.
It was like 2 and a bit hours of setting up for an interview.
Jeez.
That was the whole point behind that. Was like, I think it's just chuck up a camera, but oh my word. And
most people are like, man, you get things done quick. 42 seconds, good work.
Yeah. I know. Oh, God. I think general stupidity just really irritates me, Elliot.
Yeah,
like,
that's a big one for me. Ignorance and stupidity.
Just ignorance and like, oh no, you're gonna set me off. You're really gonna
That's
set me off.
That's the whole point.
I can't.
Just let loose.
The fundamental thing I cannot handle in life is people whinging about their lives and making zero attempt to change them. And I'm not going to go too far down that route because everybody talks about this, but I personally know people who have been doing the same thing for 20 years in their career and they hate it. But they earn good money, and every year the money gets higher. They moan, they have the audacity to moan to me, my bonus isn't going to be as big this year. The bonus that, let's face it, you probably did very little on an individual basis to push forward and get. So I hate that. And that's one of the reasons that the only reason I spend really any time on Facebook now is to go into clients' ad accounts. Because my Facebook feed is full of people just generally moaning about life. And some of them are my friends. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Why have we got this turgid place where, oh man, and like everything, just like the superficialness of life now.
Yeah. I think it's I totally agree with you. I think that's really bad. I'm I will put my hands up and say I'm quick to unfollow people on social media if it's just a constant stream of like negativity or just nonsense. I'm just like, I'm not coming here for this, and so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't unfollow people, but I will definitely just be like, no, I've seen enough.
Aye.
Seen enough. Mute. My well-being comes first.
That's it, and I am guilty of the. Oh gosh, look how well they're doing.
Yeah, I do a bit of that as well.
Why am I not
actually
doing that?
Yeah.
Jesus, I better change how I'm doing things. And then I go, wait a minute, like I probably know the reality of this better than most people. That's not necessarily going to be the case. I retweeted a video this morning, and it was a kid in looks like a South American country, judging by the football top that he gets handed. But the whole thing is it's his birthday, and it's this what looks to me like a 1-bedroom kind of rundown flat / apartment thing, and his parents have bought him this football strip, and it's under like 4 or 5 layers. And when he gets it, he explodes into tears because he's so delighted to be given this football top that in general terms probably costs £40 to £50.
Yeah.
You can guarantee that they saved up for that, that he is the thing that he wanted. And his reaction to it is so amazing because it actually, in that 20 seconds, sums up a lot of what's wrong with the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
He is pure. He is like, this is the thing. And it made him so happy, this item, which is great because he really wanted that. But the flip side of that is a lot of kids and a lot of adults who would take something like that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, do you know what? I've got my job on 40 grand a year, and that means that I need to drive an Audi. So they get an Audi and they're like, cool, great. They don't actually feel real joy at having that Audi.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the neighbours have the Audis and they work in, dare I say it, financial services. And if you're at a certain level in financial services, you need an Audi saloon in the drive.
Yeah.
Or a Range Rover Evoque, it seems to be.
Okay.
So they're not like super delighted that they've got the Audi. They're super delighted because it makes them like the other people that they think they should be like.
Yeah.
Whereas this wee kid's like, I've got this, and I am so overjoyed that I have finally got my hands on this. And like my wee boy was the same when he got his first heart strip with his name on the back. He was so delighted. He didn't, and we're trying to teach them that you need to value everything and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not going to start talking about parenting because there's so many things that people say that make me think, how dare you judge how other people parent? So I'm not going to go down that route. But that just really lit up my little train ride this morning, because I was like, that is fantastic to see. And people are just on this like conveyor belt of life. And I think we touched on this way back when you first interviewed me, but I think that's getting worse, and it's, again, social media's playing a big part in that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The best thing you can do for your well-being, I think, is get yourself off social for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is hard, when you're somebody who's your business, or it's a big part of social media, is a big part of that. I mean, like Jesus, all I virtually do is create content for
like Jesus. Oh, mad for Instagram. Seen his Instagram stories? Whoa. Man, he does a wicked boomerang.
Oh, classic. I don't even know what to say.
Sorry, totally free.
No, it's fine. Like I'm on social media. Like I produce content, regularly for social media. But yeah, I do find it a sort of toxic place a lot of the time. I mean, Twitter for me, Twitter or Reddit. I'm not sure which is worse, but jeez, man, it's just like, who are these? And I don't. This will sound judgmental. I mean, I don't wish for it to be, but like, where did the people that exist on these platforms even like come from? What's happened in their lives to make them like sort of project this sort of negative, just like awful stuff? I don't kind of get it. I actually think it's kind of a shame and slightly tragic. But that's the world, man. That's the world.
You just used the word judge there, and I just want to add a caveat to what I was saying about people working in their jobs and driving Audis.
Yeah. I think
if that's what makes you happy,
absolutely,
you do it.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact there's big parts of civilization that they only do that type of activity because they feel like they have to conform to a certain type.
Yes.
If you're happy and earning whatever money, 40 grand wasn't oh my God, 40 grand. I mean, Christ, that's great money. And, it wasn't talk about earnings. I didn't love to earn that guaranteed every year. But no, it's not a judgment piece. I think it's when people live their lives to a sort of painting by numbers that they feel like how they should look to the outside world, that becomes dangerous.
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely. And it's such an important point, for sure.
That's when you could hit your deathbed and go, oh, I only lived my life the way that I thought others wanted me to.
Yeah. You're right. Painting by numbers, it's like a tick box exercise. It's like, right, I need that.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot, and I do wonder whether these people that are living like that are truly fulfilled.
Yeah.
Because like they could be, if that's what makes them truly happy.
Absolutely.
I don't know how likely that is. Look, I mean, to use myself as an example, I left my job in 21st of October 2016 was my last day. There was parts of me that were way happier working in the place that I was working.
Yeah.
You have this sort of camaraderie with your colleagues and stuff, which I really enjoy. I find entrepreneurship quite lonely.
It is, yeah.
I liked the regularity and the security of receiving a salary. I mean, who wouldn't like that?
Yeah.
And having a bonus and this sort of stuff. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being an employee. And the people that you hear saying like, "Oh, you need to be an entrepreneur," like, no,
nonsense.
you do not.
Oh,
if you work for a business, right, and you're earning like, I don't know, 100 or 125k a year or like anything up, it doesn't really matter the figure, but you can live a very, very nice lifestyle being an employee and working for a business.
Yeah. Absolutely. My dad's always said that to me. So my dad has never had a job in my whole lifetime, certainly. In fact, he started his first business the year I was born, 1982, which is exactly what I did when Louis, our eldest, was born. And he always said, do not ever feel like being an employee is a bad thing or something you should be almost like ashamed of. He's like, he tells a story of when he did have a job in a marketing department. So he's always been in marketing too. And the guy that worked beside him lost out on a promotion versus my dad. But then dad actually quit a year later because he wanted to go out on his own. And that guy ended up being on the board of this huge company. Okay. And dad's like, I know for a fact that he takes home about 225 grand a year.
Wow.
And he said his life is far easier than mine. And I don't take that home every year. So, no, totally. And I hate that. I hate that thing of like, you have to do your own thing to be fulfilled. I'm just someone who I've known from a very early age that ultimately to kind of be happy and have energy about what I do, that it was more than likely going to be under my own steam.
Yeah.
But it is so lonely.
Yeah, it is.
I really felt that this week. So last week I was out filming. So I've got a really tight relationship with the person that I've brought in to crew it. You have to, previous week.
Was that Create Greg?
Yeah, one of them was Greg. Yeah, exactly. And like we get on so well, and we're rapidly becoming really, really good friends. And some of the chats we have are like deep, like this. We'll just be having a sandwich in between takes, and we're like, "Yeah, what do you think about this?"
Create Greg gets a lot of plugs on this show, by the way.
Yeah.
I need to get Create Greg on for a chat. Actually,
definitely, he's got an absolutely incredible story to tell. But so yeah, I was with people, with the clients, driving down south, eating meals, all that sort of thing, and then on Tuesday of this week was the first time I'd actually been in the studio at my desk, just on my own for a while, and about an hour into it, I started feeling really lonely. Normally, I don't feel that so much, but it's when I get that taste of what it's like to have a team, it gets different, and I think that's something that is hugely important within entrepreneurship. But let's face it, that's what it is. It is a kind of the term. See, the term has all these connotations of you have to be an entrepreneur to be happy. Where
did that even emanate from? Was that a Gary Vaynerchuk
Gary
idea?
Vaynerchuk. I'm pretty sure it was that whole thing of
hustle.
Jesus.
I get a shiver up my spine when I say that word.
Yeah. That's why
he's just ruined it for me.
That's why hustle.
I like Gary. But
that's why Hustle Guy, my alter ego, exists, because I'm like, this stuff is nonsense.
Your alter ego, Hustle Guy.
Have you not seen these videos?
The ones that you do.
Yeah. Hustle Guy.
If you go into Hustle Guy for a moment, what's Hustle Guy's thing?
Hustle Guy is like the alter ego version of me. So yeah, I like
channel Hustle Guy.
Channel him. Hustle Guy here. I'm with Elliot Reeves, and we're talking all this stuff about the world. But the world doesn't matter. All that matters is you and your hustle and your straight hustle and your mega hustle and all the money. Family first? No. Money first. Hustle. Hustleites, come on a ride with me. Never done that live before.
Oh, mate, round of applause. I love that. That was awesome.
Hustlier than hustly can be. The problem is, when I started all that stuff about 2 years ago, I mean, some folk thought it was for real, and that was me changed into this guy. Some people who have known me for years, like my whole career, were messaging me on LinkedIn, Mike, what's happened to you, man? You need to stop this. And I'm like, we were no longer acquainted if you didn't know that, just absolutely bananas. But those videos go down incredibly well because a lot of people are like, oh God, I'm like that. Or
seriously,
yeah. I think it's made some people recognize, why am I living this way of what other people are telling me to do? And I think this whole thing of like, you have to have your own business. Like Gary Vaynerchuk, I've learned a lot from Gary Vaynerchuk over the years, and I totally respect what the guy's done. But there's also a lot of things that I think are completely terrible what he's done. And this work 24/7, da-da-da. His Twitter bio says family first, and then I hear him on an episode of the Gary V show saying, I missed my son's first baseball game because I was away signing a $2 million deal, but he's going to be more happy with that money in the future than the memory of me being there. No, he's not. He's sorted for 100 lives with your money that you're going to leave him, so forget that. I think there's just a horrible thing around running your own business that people feel pressured into doing it because they're trying to conform. So it's like the flip side of that thing of the kind of like 2.4 children conformity. This is like, to be successful, I need to run my own company.
Yeah.
And it's one of the hardest, loneliest pursuits you can ever do in your lives. But in your lives, in your life. But
well, maybe lives.
Lives, yeah, who knows? But when you get it right, and I don't mean just start making money, I mean you feel like you're really doing something that you wanted to do, then there's no better feeling, is there?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I say absolutely a lot of it. There's a few things that I say that I'll watch back and I'll be like, Jesus, man, you said that like...
We've all got these verbal tics.
Yeah. I had another question for you that I've...
was it do more hustle guy?
Yeah, of course.
No.
Do more hustle guy. I nearly said absolutely.
I'm absolutely not doing more hustle guy.
I'm gonna do something quite uncharacteristic. I'm gonna grab a bottle of water. Actually,
oh, nice, cool.
People don't usually see this stuff.
Hashtag behind the scenes.
Hashtag behind the scenes. Would you like some water?
No, thanks.
You all right?
I would like coffee, but I'm not going to get you to do that in the show because that's just going to ruin the flow. This is a little commercial break brought to you by Asda Still Water.
Is it?
Yes.
Nice.
My rider list says Avion only, but it's been rebuffed.
Yeah. This will be one of the most natural kind of impromptu interviews I've done.
This is
I feel
Elliot.
So comfortable around you, Mike.
Yeah,
I feel that I can
fine.
just...
This is actually Elliot buying some time while he thinks of some questions.
it wasn't intended as that.
It's not.
I've got my like immediate go-to questions that just go super deep, but I'm not going to hit you with anything.
I've got a question for you, Elliot.
Oh, super!
Who's your hero?
Who is my hero?
Not someone in your real life. Someone who you look up to that you don't know.
Somebody I look up to
and may never
know.
Actually know.
That's a good question. I mean, the person that immediately comes to mind, which is cliche for a lot of people in the sort of personal development world, is Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
A big fan of Tony.
Are you gonna go to his big crazy sort of retreat thing?
If I had the money, I would go.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Yeah. Because I've done similar things. I've never been to one of his events, but I would like to. He gets, I don't know, he maybe gets a bit of a sort of mixed review from people. Eckhart Tolle, I don't know if that name means anything to you. He's a sort of spiritual teacher.
Okay.
Heroes too much. I don't idolize him, but I very much respect. Russell Brand.
Really?
It's an interesting one. Yeah, I never used to like him, but it's that thing where you have these sort of judgments of people, or maybe opinions or views that have gone unchallenged for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I realized that actually it was because somebody else or other people said they didn't like him, so I didn't like him, sort of, by
Yeah,
proxy.
yeah.
Which, but when I actually listened to him, so I'll be honest, I've been listening to his book and audiobook. Just very quickly, somebody posted once on social media that a really effective way to consume a book is to actually have the hard copy and play the audiobook at 2 times speed.
Right.
So it just like you blast
As
through it
you
really
read.
quickly, but because you're getting both the visual and auditory, it's like a 360-degree experience. And I've started to do it. Obviously, it costs you a lot more to do.
How'd you do that when you're walking along the road?
Well, like if I'm walking along the road, I'll only listen to the audiobook. But yeah, I really enjoy doing that, and I've been listening to his. It's called like Recovery About Addiction. So I've actually been going to Overeaters Anonymous, which is like a fellowship for eating addiction in the same way that you have like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, etc., etc. And part of that's the 12-step process. Now his book is basically just his iteration of the 12-step process. And I think he's somebody that's just very how do I describe, like, misjudged, or people's sort of perception of him isn't necessarily how he actually is as a person. Like he actually says in it that he's not written this, or he's not telling you this stuff because he thinks he's better than you. He's saying this stuff because he's worse than you, because he's had every addiction and every possible kind of personality malfunction that you can ever have. And so, like, listening to this, he's very open and frank and honest in it. I just really like him. He's gone through a major transformation. He's very somebody who is driven massively by ego, fame, the need for like validation and attention and all this negative stuff. And he's probably still like that a bit, but he's gone through this spiritual journey big time, and it's been really interesting to watch his transformation. So again, I don't like the word hero, man. It just implies that like someone's better than or different from me.
Respect, maybe someone you hugely you've got a lot of respect for them.
I accept the word hero for what it is. There's just nobody that I would say, because ultimately we're all human, we're all mortal. It would have to be somebody who's like a superhero.
Yeah.
It would have to be somebody that doesn't exist within our realm in order for me to justify. So who's my favourite superhero, I guess? I don't know, actually. It would be Wolverine, maybe.
Oh, yeah, nice.
You know, quite like his... I like
He's dead.
Wolverine.
He's dead.
He's dead?
He died in Logan.
Did he die in Logan?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Spoiler alert. No. You have to, you might have to just bleep that out.
He can't die.
Yes,
you know?
something bad happened. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, for the sake of continuity in terms of him being a character in anything that he's in, you can't ever actually kill him off.
No.
Because he'll be resurrected in some other outlet or whatever. But so it's a good question. What about yourself?
I don't have
Casey Neistat probably being that group, man. He is he is absolutely a hero in the sense that from a creator's perspective.
You know, that's a funny one because the creativity side of things and how he basically pretty much created this whole vlog thing. But I like his honesty and his attitude and all that sort of stuff. And he's exactly the same age as me. And I feel like I can actually connect with that guy. But I don't have a sort of hero, and I kind of agree with what you're saying. And actually, that's a bad one. I think it's a bad one. What I was going to say, because I don't. There's not like one or two people that I feel like I've learnt loads from, like my dad and my parents and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, people around you, but I don't know. Do you know what, actually? And this is going to sound kind of ridiculous. I've just finished listening to Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger's autobiography.
Awesome.
Bit of a hero. A movie hero of mine when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But his stories are unbelievable.
Yeah. How many people can be the best bodybuilder in the world, the best movie star in the world, and one of the most influential politicians in the world?
He'd made $1 million in property before he even made tons of money through acting. And it's not all about the money, but it's the fact that he went, yeah, I've got a bit of money, I'll buy a property.
Hmm.
Or he set up a mail order bodybuilding thing when he was going through Olympia and everything, and he had to hire someone to run that for him because he saw an opportunity for that thing we were talking about earlier, that kind of passive income. Here's the knowledge, pay for it. But he's also, and he's a real like Marmite character, but he's got.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think. Like,
I think he's quite well liked,
there's
admired.
There's bits in the book about potential sexism and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But he's got a really nice attitude to parenting in terms of you work for what you get in life and all that. Yeah, I think he's someone I definitely admire. There's sporting heroes, but they're not. That's just because of what they achieved in sport, or like phenomenal Hearts players of the past. Because I'm a big Hearts fan, but I don't know. It's yeah. I think everyone's potentially heroic in certain ways.
Yeah, I like it.
But Iron Man is my favourite, like, comic guy.
Okay.
I think it's the intersection of brains and technology.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I don't particularly like Robert Downey Jr. as an actor, so I find it hard to connect. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'm that sort of fanatical about Hugh Jackman either, but yeah, it's interesting.
Downey Jr. He is Tony Stark, though. He's done that well.
Yeah, he has.
There's a man who's got a few stories to tell about addiction and life, and geez, yeah,
big time.
Born again at 40, basically.
Here's the question. Actually, I'm going to try and keep myself to account because I want to create more content, just myself speaking into a camera type stuff.
Yeah.
Where do you find the inspiration to create content like that?
Like Hustle Guy.
Like Hustle Guy.
I think I've always been keen to share some sort of contrary message.
Yeah.
And whether that's looking at this whole hustle culture thing and going, this is bullshit, and thinking about how I can try and reflect that, or just like something I've become fairly well known for is just giving very straight marketing advice.
Yeah.
This works, that doesn't. Social media is not going to work for everyone, etc. I have a slight problem though that when I have a creative idea, I want it to happen there and then. So quite often the videos that people might see if they watch me look up my stuff after this, that's the idea came that day, I recorded it that day, I edited it that day, and I put it out that day. And some of it looks like it because it's, it's badly set up or whatever. I'm a nightmare. I used to be a heavy duty written blogger, and that would be the same for that. I would publish something and I'd read it the next day and I'm like, oh, it's riddled with grammatical errors or whatever. So my creative thing is quite sharp and fast. I don't actually sit down and go, I need to do 4 videos this month, what I'm going to do. I just don't do it. And albeit I tell clients, we need to plan this stuff out.
Yeah.
But that's quite often a business or a client doesn't have that opportunity to be spontaneous for various reasons.
But there's a certain, there's a very much a realness that comes from creating something in the moment, rather than doing it more rehearsed or planned. So that's really interesting. So basically, you just get an idea, and how would you film that now? Is it just in an office with a camera?
I mean, obviously in the studio now. Prior to that, it was like whenever I could get something that was going to be quiet enough or didn't look dreadful in the background or whatever. Yeah. I've gone through every iteration of smartphone on a jobby tripod. Jobby. What?
I know. Why would you?
A poor brand name for a Scottish market, but I'm sure we're like a percentage of their market in general. But it's probably Joby, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's some folk won't have a clue what I'm talking about. Why is Mike talking about jobbies? But it's a brand of little
mini tripod
things. Yeah, so I've been through every
great stuff actually.
Yeah, and now I've got like all these fancy cameras, and sometimes I don't even use them because I feel like it's overkill. It might take me too long to set it all up. Then I start getting really fussy about exposure and white balance and all that sort of stuff. And that wasn't me even 6 months ago. 6 months ago, to be like, bang. I've got a microphone, people can hear me, the lighting's not terrible, let's do it.
Yeah, I've become that guy,
the former.
Anal about, all that stuff. But now I've become a good editor. so I can do so much in post
Yeah.
that I'm not too protective about
What you edit in?
Final Cut.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I was with Create Greg the other day, and I was looking at his Premiere suite. It does
Yeah.
look really good. I would
Yeah.
like to do it, but I had really good advice from a guy, Stephen Mulholland, who's a professional video editor, and he was like, "There's no absolute need for you to learn to edit on Avid and Premiere. If
No.
you're happy doing what you're doing,
Absolutely.
then like that's fine. Don't feel the need to. If you want to, then sure." So yeah, I've just stuck with Final Cut is what I just learned on. I really, really like it.
I don't think it matters. I think as long as it does what you need it to do.
Well, exactly.
And the output, ultimately, it's just a tool.
Yeah. What's your favourite camera?
See, I'm not really that bothered.
Yeah.
It's like, I need this to produce good looking stuff. And the nature of Get-Go is that, excuse me, I bring in people to handle the technical side of things. So sometimes there's different cameras. It could be a Canon, we could be a Sony, we could be anything. My first ever DSLR was a Canon that I got for my 30th, and I've kind of stuck with Canon. Like the professional camcorders, excuse me, in the studio are both big Canon, you know,
like broadcast cameras,
machines that you can see people using in the news and all that.
Yeah.
But then the next iteration of that will probably be Sony's, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not fussed. I just need it to look good.
You know, the thing, man, that I've realised is that
the output to look good. I mean, not the actual device itself, because that's a whole other.
Yeah.
I only buy beautiful things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. But people, 99% of people probably, and I don't know the statistics on this, they don't know or care that much about how it looks visually. Because when I started out producing content, like when I look at it now, I cringe. I'm like, oh, it looks terrible. I didn't know what I didn't know
Yeah, exactly.
at that point. And so I can only see it through the eyes now, but I'm so much more critical and notice so many more things. So if I'm watching TV and like the color grading looks different, I can clearly see it's been filmed on a different camera. Like,
Yeah.
I notice so much more because I've got that level of sort of knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
But when it's amazing what I would tolerate or not pick up on when I didn't know, and that's most people.
Yeah.
So it's like,
exactly.
provided it kind of looks all right and the sound's decent quality, then it doesn't have to be absolutely stunning visually to communicate the message.
No,
and Casey's done Casey does a brilliant video on that where he's like, this is, you know, a sort of cheapo point and shoot camera that I filmed like one of his most viral videos on. It was like a basically filming on a potato.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's the content was brilliant.
It's knowing what to do with that device, regardless if it's a 50 quid Amazon, you know, Chinese thing versus a £100,000 red camera.
Yeah.
And that video you mentioned earlier, actually, where I did the time lapse of us setting up for this to the outside world simple interview. Some people started saying, "No, you don't need all that gear that was in that mic," and I said, "No, you don't." But that's how we're going about it. Folks started saying, "Oh, you could probably do that on a smartphone." You could. But it's not. It's just fundamentally not going to be as good.
Yeah.
And unless you really know what you're doing
Uh-huh.
with that smartphone, you're not going to get the same results.
Yeah.
This is all getting a bit technical, but the cameras in the studio are HD. They're not 4K. Because I had various discussions, and people were like,
"Can't edit in 4K.
You don't need 4K for this because." So most of the studio videos are going to be used on social media.
Yes.
That's the whole point of them. And they are pieces to camera. They're training videos. They're short interviews.
Yeah.
Dealing with 4K is brutal, like you're saying, from a storage perspective, from the computers you need to actually work with it. At some point, I will make 4K an option, but it won't be the standard. Whereas last week, for example, some of the stuff we were shooting was in 4K. But that was an on location job, and everybody gets carried away about technology all the time. If you go onto Instagram and search for video gear, all the photos are of people with these ridiculously elaborate camera setups, and all they're caring about is I've got a red, or I've got a whatever the next big one is, they're very rarely showing what they make with those.
Yeah.
You know, it's
It's
not, here's the craft. It's just like, we spent tons of money on this stuff.
But that's a weird thing, because I read blogs and things about this a while back, and it's like the perception of turning up at a video job with a camera like this versus turning up with, say, a Sony A7S or like a Panasonic GH5 or something. Like, people see you coming with this and they're like, all right, well, that's a very different feel. That's like, that's why I'm charging 10 grand for a job. Rather than
So that was also a consideration with the studio, that perception. So I could have got 2 DSLRs with bigger lenses on them, but when people are coming to a studio, they expect to see something that looks a bit like a TV camera. And that's one of the reasons. By the way, they're secondhand, they're refurbished Canon cameras, but one of them, brand new, would have been £10,000. So, and that's an interesting one where someone turns up with a DSLR and a tripod and sticks a lens on it, and someone may well, who doesn't know, at the client end go, I've got one of those at home. Well, you probably don't have that model, let's face it, but you don't know what you're doing with it. You're shooting on auto all the time, for example. I mean, it's like anything. Great, the top Nike running shoes won't make you the best runner. They just won't. They might protect your feet better and make you. Well, they probably won't even make you faster. Whereas you take the best Nikes and you put them on a professional runner, then it will help their performance. Versus wearing Adidas Sambas, for example. That'd be funny. Aye, yeah, no, and do you know, that kind of harks back to what we were talking about earlier about the perception of having nice things, the need to have nice things. Most of the time, you don't need them to have a decent life or to produce something great. You know,
you put a post up earlier today, actually. I think it was, or late last night. It was a sort of chill out zone in your studio, and you were like, "What else does this need? What are you going to be getting for it?"
Don't know. Someone said
social media pillows. An
on-air
sign.
I need an on-air sign, but I need that for like actual practical reasons, because there's other businesses in the studio building, so that needs to go outside when we're shooting. Someone said get a big cactus. I'm actually a massive cactus fan.
Are you really?
Yeah, so I'm going to do that, but I want a proper Wild West one that looks like an emoji, like the cactus emoji. Gav Oates said you need a sand pit, which is...
Has he got one at True Knowledge?
They do. Great idea. Far too much technology around. And then someone was like, you need plants. I was like, okay.
Plants. Okay.
No, I'm going to have cactus.
What is it? They say people are, I don't know what, like 40% more efficient or effective when there's nature, plant life in the office.
Right? Wow.
Yeah, it increases productivity actually quite considerably. Nice. It's maybe closer to 20%, but no, there's a marked difference.
I feel a wee trip to IKEA coming on. I'm actually like a serial plant killer. That's maybe why I like cactuses so much, because you even when you want them dead, you can't do it. I did have what do you call those things that are like so kind of hipster and all these totally false Instagram. Oh, is it a
bonsai tree?
No, luscious. No, that's not it.
What's that?
It's like this type of plant, and it's really trendy, and it retains loads of water, and you don't really need to do much to it. Oh my god, succulent, luscious. Succulents are all over Instagram, right?
Really? I don't even know. I don't think what that is.
They're not even remarkable on the eye. Why am I looking around here? Because you clearly wouldn't have one if you don't even know what they are.
There's not one here.
I managed to kill this thing within 3 days and actually almost shed a tear. It's like, oh my god, I've killed it. But yeah, what are we talking about? Gardening.
I was going to tell you the story of an orchid that I once bought. So I've got it's for a property that I let, and to make it look all nice for people coming to view it, went into this plant shop and just saw like what have they got available. And one of the things they had was an orchid in a pot, and it said like £8 or whatever. I was like, yeah, that'll do. But what they do, which is a bit cheeky, is that they itemize the plant separately from the pot. So it ends up costing like 20 quid. Anyway, I don't know if you know anything about orchids, but they're just impossible to keep alive. they have to be in a very specific environment that's got certain steam and certain lighting conditions.
Diva.
And literally within like a few, because I took it home. I wasn't going to just leave it in the flat, having spent, the best part of 20 quid for this little thing. And then within a handful of weeks, I honestly, the effort that I went to try and maintain this thing, I went to Home Base and bought the special food and these special drops and all this stuff. And within 3 or 4 weeks, it was dead. And I was just like, what was the point in that?
That is harsh.
Should have got a cactus, mate.
I know.
Should have got a succulent?
No, don't do that. They're temperamental. We're going to have to invent a plant called the Luscious now. I don't know how you invent a plant.
But you're the creator of Trees and Teeth.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Of course I am. Why didn't I give myself better teeth? Jesus, that gets brought up so many times. That was like on my Twitter bio and my LinkedIn bio for a while. And
inventor
it was just
of
like,
trees, teeth,
and skiing. Yeah.
Skiing.
Yeah. And horses, actually, yeah. People forget that. That's where I made all my money, horses. Don't know, I think that's just a thing that I thought I'm going to do that to try and stand out in amongst all the corporate labels.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of people that mentioned it was incredible. Some people, even in that genuinely got people contacting me about doing business with them because they were like, this guy isn't taking himself as serious as everyone else.
Yeah. See, I probably overthink things a little bit. Like, for example, on my LinkedIn, I mean, I'm not bothered, but on my LinkedIn at the moment, I've got, I don't even know what it says. It's silly stuff, I think. Founder, broadcaster, something,
like
and but I've got emojis.
Right, yeah.
And there's this thing about being on LinkedIn and using, a lot of people don't like emojis on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And so, like, do you think it's a positive thing to just do your own thing, and then the people that will, they'll be attracted to your style of operating anyway?
Yeah.
Because the likelihood is you're probably going to ostracize a certain portion of your potential clients or audience by doing stuff like that. You like that work for you?
I think if you're doing it because you feel like you should be using an emoji, then forget about it. But if it's something that you think represents you or adds,
I like emojis.
Adds to your thing, yeah, exactly.
I love emojis. They're very communicative.
They're a part of the language of the world now.
Yeah.
It's just gone full circle. Cavemen drew stuff so we could see and learn from that. Not that you learn from emojis, but this was our representation of life, basically.
Yeah.
So we're visual creatures.
Yeah.
I think with anything, if every second word has an emoji in it, it just looks awful and you can't read what the person is talking about. Or there's so much nonsense in business about how you should be, how you should act, and ultimately, if you can't be yourself, then forget it. Because one of the reasons that I would encourage people who are looking to grow a business to do as much public speaking as possible is, apart from all the skills that gives you, people see you kind of warts and all.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment in time, I believe, for right or for wrong, they're going, could I work with that person? Are they too serious? Are they too daft? Did they swear too much? Because I don't like swear words, fuck shit. Or, sorry, man. Sorry.
Oh, classic.
Sorry.
It's good.
You can bleep if you want.
No, not at all.
I didn't drop the worst though, so that's okay. Yeah, I think that, and I think anything that puts you out there, albeit if it's a LinkedIn profile, if it's a video, you've got to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And people will love you or hate you, and that's fine.
Yeah. That sort of loops back to what we were talking about earlier.
But you do care. Everyone cares.
It depends. So if I was, Joe Rogan, for example, on his podcast, like Joe Rogan has what can categorically be called "fuck you" money. It doesn't matter, provided he's not breaching any laws in what he says. He can say whatever he wants, and it doesn't matter. Whereas if you're somebody that's running a business and you're reliant upon working with other people in order to survive, you kind of have to police yourself to an extent.
Yes.
Because there comes a a point at which nobody will want to work with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think like that would be like having a job and just being professional and not acting like an arsehole anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a certain there's obviously there's an expectation that you're going to behave in a certain way in society,
Yeah.
and you kind of have to adhere to it to a point.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can't be overly aggressive. You can't
like,
insult people.
You can't be racist. You can't be.
You need
like
to. You need to mold it into the environment you're in. So, I have done a lot of public speaking, and there's been times when I've been in very, very corporate environments, and I've had to go, I need to change how I communicate here a wee bit. So maybe not swear, maybe not say that, use that and that. It's an interesting one, but you can only do that so much before you start becoming or inauthentic, and true to yourself.
Yes,
and that's problematic. I mean, there's examples that I've seen on LinkedIn where there's an individual I'm thinking of writes articles, and they are just massive sweary rants. And I look at them and I go, I would not use your company.
Is it someone in Scotland?
Yeah.
I think I know who it is.
I would not approach that.
Yeah.
Now, 50% of the responses to those are brilliant. 50% are like, oh my God, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
This use of language is vulgar, whatever. You know?
Oh.
And I think you've just got to be really aware. Self-awareness is the biggest thing. And you've got to be aware of how doing certain things make you look. Because ultimately, you might not care what people think, but if it affects your progress and that of your business.
Yeah.
If you're the producer of this mug and you go online and you write a rant about how shit the garlic was in Waitrose last week, and there's loads of swear words in it, nobody's going to care, because they probably don't know in a professional sense who you are, because you just fire out mugs.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a business like mine,
Yeah.
where I am a huge part of the output of everything, whether that's my marketing business, whether that's the film stuff, and you start just riling people and being this, I don't know, it's so hard to explain, but yeah, when it's you as the face of a business, then you've really got to watch yourself.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mike. What 3 businesses do you most want to work with?
Ooh, actual businesses or types of businesses?
No. Names.
Jeez. I haven't really thought about that at a named level.
Really?
Yeah. There's...
Now's as good a time as any.
Oh, God. There are categories of business I definitely want to work with soon.
Okay.
But let's try and name a business. Let's say... I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
And that's maybe that's a bit of a failing of mine in this regard. So I probably should have a hit list of actual companies, whereas I know the type of company that I think suit what we're producing. Okay. There's one I want to work with, an up and coming brewery, like a beer brewery. I've done a lot of work in the spirits industry over the years. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot that could be done to help young breweries stand out amongst the ever-increasing competition. I do want to do some work with people who are really making a difference in an industry, so that are trying to revolutionize things, disrupt things. Ugh, another word that's overused, but yeah, I don't know. The thing is, at the moment, I'm quite lucky in that there's quite a lot of inquiries coming in, and one of the problems when that happens is you don't necessarily get too picky, which is a bad thing at times. But in the early days of a business, you're just like, give me the funds. Yeah. As long as we do good work. There's obviously certain things you would say no to.
What would you say no to?
Anything that's like degrading to people's health. I don't mean like alcohol. I mean things that are like smoking, for example. I had a huge opportunity in year 2 of Velocity to work for Philip Morris, the makers of Marlboro and all that. Yeah. And I just thought, and actually as an ex-smoker, I thought, no way, there's no way I can do that. Just really? Like, when I was younger and on and off and blah blah. But I also wouldn't work for anyone that I think's an arsehole. Fundamentally, if their business practices aren't right,
how can you? Yeah, I was going to say, how can you know that before you start working with them?
Yeah,
sort of vet them sufficiently enough, I suppose.
Yeah, you can
get a vibe.
Glean a lot from people's activity online, unfortunately, in some ways.
Very true.
Someone has been pestering me to do some work for them, and I've told them no because some of the stuff I've seen them come out with online, I'm like, I just can't connect with that. Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. Who would your like ultimate interviewee be?
Ultimate interviewee? Gosh. I'm trying to visualize my list because I've got about 100 names on it. One that I'm keen to start working on is Sir Chris Hoy.
Nice.
I mentioned that in the Property Rugby Club podcast that we did. Yeah, I'd really like to get him.
Have you made inquiries or?
No, not really. I mean, I've got over the next few months, I've got a few massive names, which is really good. And they're not no, they're massive in like the social media space.
Okay.
You know, one of them's got nearly 1 million followers on YouTube.
Nice.
For example. Like that's really good. And I don't see, it's funny approaching guests. I often wonder what it is that would motivate somebody to want to do the interview. Because my pitches are they're mostly quite similar.
Okay.
So I rarely really deviate to one person. They're mostly, it's not a template as such, but it follows a very similar style. And so I suppose it taps into like, why is this person going to really, really want to do this? I mean, Doddy Weir, for example, a rugby player who's been diagnosed with MND.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I'd love to speak to him, but it's like, I can kind of see why would he sit down and speak to me when he could go and speak to the BBC.
Yeah,
and
he's got that message, hasn't he?
So there's, but I don't know. I don't necessarily understand enough the psychology of somebody that's a podcast guest, I guess.
Yeah.
Or like from the other side, it's like, how can I deliver maximum value to this person so that they'll come on, especially if there's no need for them to come on. So like Wim Hof, the Iceman, is somebody who I will be getting in touch with within the next year, with a view to coming on. There's people like that, people who are really at the sort of big hitter in the podcast, you know, or social million follower style.
Yeah,
these are the people that I really want, and I think I'm at, you know, almost certainly at that level.
Definitely.
Like, I mean, Dan Pena and Peter Sage, two people that I've had on, they're you know, Dan's been on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
You know, when you've been on Rogan, you're
legit.
Yeah, you are. That's the summit of the podcasting world.
Yeah,
doesn't get better than that.
Then you should get a hustle guy on.
Hustle guy.
Do you know what actually has happened? And this is crazy.
Okay.
And if this pulls off, this will be probably the most favourite thing I'll ever do in my career.
Okay.
A very well-known Scottish organisation has asked me to write them a proposal for Hustle Guy going into the office and interviewing a number of their staff.
Yeah, right.
I swear down.
It's like Ali G.
It's exactly like Ali G.
Oh my god.
If that happens, I'm just going to shut up shop. And I don't know. I need to earn some money. This leg is completely dead.
Really?
I never sit like that. So if that happens, that'll be hilarious. But yeah, I think you're in a place right now to really blast on with people. And I guess you need to have some sort of connection with what they do and how they go about things, because I've got two now basically defunct podcasts and I still get the classic, hey Mike, love the podcast.
Yeah.
Our CMO is amazing at marketing. Would you like to interview them? And I'm like, I've never heard of them, don't care, don't do it anymore, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't, you would struggle, wouldn't you, if you just thought, I'm going to just start approaching these big names, and one of them says yes, and then you go, oh God, I don't actually know if I want to sit and speak to that person for 2 hours, you know.
Yeah.
You could just go pure profile based, like,
Yeah. Well, a big part of the driver for a lot of people to go on podcasts, if they are actively seeking that, is exposure, right?
Yeah.
But how do you give exposure to somebody who's already massively exposed? So, like, how on earth do you get Russell Brand to come on your podcast when he himself is already reaching massive numbers? And if he's doing anything, he's going on like Channel 4 and stuff. You really need to tap in and sort of pull on the like heartstrings, or, you know, find the, you know, the very sort of core of them, what it is that drives them, and then be like, I really want to, you know, I do see myself as, well, maybe this interview aside, I do see myself to be quite a competent interviewer, and I like to kind of pull certain things out of people.
Only work what you've got.
I quite like to, I mean, this is very sort of chill and relaxed, but I do enjoy getting really deep on the psychology of stuff with people.
Yeah. I think if you can offer someone, say it was Russell Brand, a real platform to deliver what they almost want to deliver, a new facility, that, and I think that gets a wee bit different. It's when they go on a Jonathan Ross, they know there's going to be a template, there's certain areas they can go to and they can't, and I think that's one of the big things where podcasting and video and everything has come up, is that it's not on a major network's agenda, on their way of doing things. So Joe Rogan can start this show, use his bit of fame he had prior to that, and go, we're going to talk about what the hell we want to talk about. I mean, when the show was fully sponsored by Fleshlight, it's like, oh my god. You know, you're not getting that.
Forget about that stuff.
You're not getting that on prime time BBC. You know, and that's, we're not even going to talk about what a Fleshlight is.
I was literally just thinking, like, there's people that might not know, but
look it up.
They'll just need to research.
You can learn. So that's it. I think it's actually that freedom to people express what they want to express.
Yeah. I mean, Joe's a prime example of somebody who touches upon things that people were never discussing, ever. No. Psychedelics and just, a lot of this really controversial stuff around sort of politics and whatnot as well, that he's happy to chat about. Yeah, there's no boundaries.
There's no filter, really.
No, not at all.
Without it being distasteful at the same time, though, you know.
But I think that's causing a massive disruption now, and that's why new media are. People, like, I go to social for, I mean, I don't specifically go to social media for the news, but it finds you because you can't avoid it.
I know.
You know, it's like what's trending on any platform just now is basically what keeps me informed. But I don't even know how important it is to be informed of these things. That's a very dated idea of like, oh, I need to know what's in the news to keep up to speed. And it's like, yeah, but for what reason? You know, why do you actually need to know what's happening?
It's interesting that, because one of the things I used to always do first thing in the morning was look at the Sky News app on my phone. Days and days go by now where I don't seek out any news, because I kind of feel like I'm surrounded by it in a way, and like, the beauty of Twitter is that if something really matters, it tends to be in your face on Twitter. Yeah. Despite what then happens to the news. But I remember discussing it with Jules, saying like, why do I want to subject myself to 12 stories about absolute misery?
Completely.
You need to know what's bad about the world, but you don't need it to just be surrounding you at all times. No wonder like mental health problems are at the highest level. Yeah. And and then you think, somebody needs to make a channel all about good news. People have tried it. Yeah. And it doesn't work.
Mate, you know, I've had this discussion with a number of people, you know, like Inspired Edinburgh is about inspirational or, you know, like positive. There's an underlying very positive message. Yeah. And the viewership's kind of dismal. I mean, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm not driven by views, celebrity, fame. I'm driven by, well, you know, A, having an awesome conversation with an interesting person, and B, like, when I die, this is what will be part of my legacy. Like, this is my body of work that I can say, like, I created that and I'm proud of that. Absolutely, and that's awesome. That's what motivates me. But part of me is just like, you know, I could, and I'm sort of playing around with just getting people on that are a lot more controversial and still maintain my own personal ethics and integrity, and the style of the conversation will be such that will be what can people learn from this? How can you see the glass half full rather than glass half empty from it? But people don't want to be inspired, they want to be outraged. I firmly believe that. I do believe that. Like, what does that say about the world that we live in? A big part of that is the conditioning from the mainstream media, because they want people to be fearful and miserable, and that's their agenda. It's easier to target people based on things that outrage them.
And that's funny because
So, and I'm interested, actually, sorry to interrupt you, but like from a marketer's perspective, I mean, if you're creating video content that you want people to see, at what point is it just, I'm just going to create stuff that's like massively outrageous or really controversial to get views?
Just to get views,
your post, that at the time was probably quite controversial, which is why it went bananas, because no one else was being that honest or
calling out, like, naming Edinburgh Council as a party and all this, I think it's actually very easy to make something that will shock people and get that outrage reaction. You just light the fuse. Could go and do it now, In fact, no.
Do you think that's do you see the opportunity in that then?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't know fine well that video, for example, was going to kick off.
Really?
And I was like, music to my ears when it started kicking off. Because I thought, do you know what? I am pissed off about this, so I'm going to bring that to life. And it helped me vent, but I knew fine well that it was going to do well. And it led to getting the premises that I'm in now, so that poking the fire a wee bit helped. But that was a real story. Whereas it would be very easy just to come up with something and think, I'm going to rant about this, or I know that this is a hot topic on the Daily Mail that a lot of people are talking about. And, I did it recently, actually. Wayne Hennessy, the Crystal Palace goalkeeper.
Right.
A photo of him went viral at their Christmas do, doing a Nazi salute.
Okay.
He came out and said it wasn't a Nazi salute. I was trying to get the photographer's attention and go like this to say, hurry up.
Oh, come on.
Right? So I do a video and I put it on YouTube, and it's like, Wayne, you're talking shit.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. I don't really know why I did it, but I wanted to see what the reaction would be. And I tweeted about it, and he was trending that day. So that was a classic thing where I saw what was going on, and I thought, I'm going to try and jump on that.
Nice.
And I put it out there, and you know what? It's maybe had like 500 views on YouTube, which for one of my videos on YouTube ain't bad. But I started getting attacked by Crystal Palace fans in the comments, saying, how do you know, blah, 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 you're a dick, you're this, you're ruining people's lives. In fact, that was where the guy that came to your video
is that
must
where he
have
came from?
found me all over the web and just started going, you're ruining people's lives. Now, actually, looking back on that video, and a part of me regrets doing it, because I'm like, do you know what? That's a bit harsh. But I was just talking about something that was out there anyway. So that was a thing where it was part experiment, part of me going, maybe I should start doing this on a regular basis, taking something that's really topical and just making a piece of content about it. But yeah, it's easier to outrage people than it is to inspire people.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, I think you very much find a niche audience when you put out stuff that's positive, because it's people that are attracted to that, and that's actually very few people. So you're definitely finding like-minded people. But I mean, controversy is the thing at the moment.
And but I'm also quite cynical, so I'll watch as you probably gathered if you've been listening to this, but I'll watch some really fluffy, shiny, lovely video that's meant to make you like smile and go and run a marathon and feel amazing about life, and then I go, really? Like, there's a balance.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a real balance to these things where you just go like, oh God, again, life can't be that good for that person.
Yeah. I need to take a bathroom break.
Cool. Okay.
That's very off the
2
cuff.
hours
but,
later. 2 hours.
mate,
Oh my
2
God.
hours.
Go for it.
Yeah, man. Well,
Are you going to keep rolling while I'm sitting here?
Yeah, man.
Interesting. Elliot has left me alone in his fine studio. Let's look at this. I believe it's a camera attached to a monkey. That's freakish and scary. It's like that bit in Toy Story when the bad kid kind of plugs everything together. Gonna have nightmares tonight. This actually feels like something like, because someone did this recently on a Casey Neistat video. They were like, oh my God, he's left me alone in his studio, and he just started like rummaging through everything. But I'm worried to move because I'm plugged in, so I'm not really sure. This has actually been paused. Elliot's been in the bathroom for 34 minutes. I don't know what he's doing in there. I dread to think what he ate last night if this is the consequence. I hope he's okay. Maybe I should go and find out. Nah, it's only been a minute. I'm only joking. This is awkward. Honestly, if you are watching this, I'm not judging anyone. I feel like I've judged a lot of people here, but I'm not. Obviously, you are watching this. Someone's watching it. Elliot's done a great job in here. It's so quiet here in the West End of Edinburgh. But he's got some nice echo reduction. Some nice stuff going around. Yeah, done well. Alright, I reckon actually that Elliot might be a mega star at this one day. I'm not sure he believes that, but I think he will. Totally deserves it. It must be really hard to listen to my voice for 2 hours. So boring. And I've got a cold, so it's even worse. Kinda need the toilet myself. Oh no. I just sat here and didn't say anything.
I heard you speaking.
Nah, it's all in your imagination.
Thanks for your patience, folks.
It's alright. Hope you're
Thanks for
refreshed.
your patience.
It's
Mike.
alright.
I heard you speaking actually, so
No, I didn't.
wondering what you were telling.
No, you didn't.
Secrets.
Yep. It's just getting intimate with the audience.
Yeah.
I keep sniffing. Oh no, that's going to be really annoying.
Yeah, I'm not going to edit that out.
No, keep it real.
Keep it real.
Yeah, wow, we've
This is good
been through a lot, Elliot.
Yeah, we certainly have. That's nearly 2 hours of patter.
Yeah, I hope it's good power.
Well,
We'll see.
yeah, I know.
What are you going to edit this into? 3 minutes?
It's all going to go in. Even the bathroom break's going in.
That's okay.
Because I've seen that actually on like Rogan. If someone needs, nature calls, just...
It's like the classic line from Jurassic Park. You gotta go. It's not a classic. Nobody really knows it, but it's one I remember. Expertly delivered by Jeff Goldblum.
What's your favourite film?
Oh, Jesus. No, we keep talking about Jesus. Do you want to talk
We
about
do.
religion?
We could do, yeah. Definitely.
Nah, let's not.
I spoke about religion quite recently on a podcast that I was
Did you?
interviewed on, actually. Yeah. How, when I was younger, I would probably identified, so I would be Protestant Christian as, my sort of baseline when I was, that's what I've been born into, if you like. And then I would have been atheist when I was a teenager, partly out of just ignorance and rebellion, but also because I couldn't prove that God existed. So he just didn't. And then I became more agnostic because, well, I can't really prove that there is a God, but I can't disprove. So I'm kind of like in between. So I mean, there could be, but then obviously through the 12-step process, through the fellowship, if you like,
Yeah.
the God plays a big part in that. I don't know if you're familiar with the sort of framework, but
No.
basically it's like you need to find your belief in a higher power, or they very specifically use God. And Russell Brand is very interesting on this one, because God is whatever your sort of own personal opinion, or you sort of delineate for yourself what that means for you. So it doesn't fit within a religious framework. It's very much just like God could be consciousness that pervades the universe. It could be, your inner kind of whatever it is that's makes you actually you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or it could be a male figure in the sky that's controlling everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's basically helping you deal with things by delegating the responsibility to something bigger than yourself. So yeah, I mean, how do I identify now religious? I mean, probably the same. Yeah, I would say I'm an agnostic. I think that's on my Twitter, actually.
Okay.
Agnostic. Yourself?
I deeply respect religion and anyone who follows it, and also see the comfort that it gives a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe in it in the traditional sense of thinking that we were put here on Earth and all that sort of stuff. I'm very scientific about it.
Right.
It's this crazy thing happened, and it was a big piece of luck that actually this planet turned into what it did and allowed it to support life. I'm very, very basic in my thinking about that.
Yeah.
I am, however...
Not that I'm saying you're basic, but I get what you're saying.
I'm very clear in my views on it all.
Are you?
Yeah, and I have been for a number of years, and that's despite... I don't come from a massively religious family, but my background is Roman Catholic, and like my gran, who's still with us, God bless her. See, then you say things like that, and you're like, that's a mistake. But she's kind of been in and out of it, and now she goes when she can, and but I just don't. It's not part of my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe. I believe a lot in fate. I think that what's for you won't pass you by. So what drives that? How's like destiny? How's that all work?
Yeah.
And there must be some. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I this is another crazy. I remember having this discussion with my dad when I was fairly young, but it's like, and again, maybe this is going back to spirituality, but I find it hard to think about dying and then your whole being just no longer existing.
Mm-hmm.
So like the body's the body, but what about everything that makes you up?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm pretty clear in my head that just goes away. Like it no longer exists, but there's a part of me that wishes that wasn't the case.
Well, yeah. So I'm just going to go back very quickly and qualify something that I said. So I said I was agnostic in a religious sense. That's true. In terms of my belief in God, because the 12 steps necessitates that you believe in something greater than yourself. I believe that there's something greater than me.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not necessarily a God and a male figure in the sky, like the sort of Christian doctrine. It's I believe in there being something that I'm, like universal consciousness, infinite intelligence. There's something out with me that exists out there.
Yeah.
That's way more powerful.
Yeah.
Than my own little capacity and level of sort of understanding and intellect. So yeah, I believe in that, and that's enough for me to be able to be like, right, okay, I can believe in that, but not in the sort of traditional. Anyway, coming back to your point there, well, people will say that you existed before you were born. There was something, then there was you, and then when there's not you. that's sort of just like a continuum.
Yeah.
So actually, there's
when you're gone,
I can share with you this. I'll send you a video. There's a guy. I
don't like videos.
There's a guy called Hans Wilhelm. This was probably one of the first times that I had seen this, and he shows you this thing called the soul's journey.
Right.
So basically, and Peter Sage and I spoke about this when I interviewed him recently, that Earth, he talks about Earth as Earth's school.
Right.
So basically, imagine you're an actor. So wherever you're deployed from, like, you know, the heaven or whatever you want to call it, you are somewhere before you come here. That you're an actor, and you're deployed currently in the role of Mike McGrail, right? So you're playing the role of Mike, and then when you finish playing Mike and you leave this life, you will then go back to wherever you came from, and you'll be assigned a new role.
Right, okay.
Right? And you'll be in the role of somebody else. And so people that go through spiritual healings often are past life regression.
Right,
they will often be taken back to, like, you were this person in a past life.
Got you,
and I know
got
people
you.
personally who,
Yeah.
like, they were, they were... I don't know, a farmer up north in Scotland, and then the Vikings came and, like, plundered the village, and, you know, took all the people and kidnapped them all, and, you know, they maybe, like, died at that point, and their remaining memory is losing their kids and stuff.
Right.
And that causes some sort of manifestation in their current life because they feel guilt or whatever the emotion was when they died in their past life.
You actually know someone who believes that's their...
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I mean, it's not even I'm reluctant to say it's a fact, but I mean, yeah, they were taken back. So that's a spiritual healing or healer or a shaman can take you back to, like, in a meditative sense, that you're back in your old life, seeing the stuff that unfolded then. Yeah. So, and, you know, going back to the Hans Wilhelm thing, yeah, your soul, the thing that makes you out with your body, your consciousness, that's on this sort of cycle to try and move you up to whatever is at the peak. So, like, divinity or unconditional love or enlightenment or whatever it is. That's when you graduate. You've now passed, and you're now in this new realm.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we are on this loop of being on Earth, or in Earth school, and we have to go through certain challenges in this life to sort of graduate to get to the next level. And we'll either pass, in which case we'll, like, move up the scale,
right,
and then be redeployed into, like, a better or a different set of circumstances. I sometimes wonder, like, you know, is it possible that you could come back as, like, an animal or like a tree or something else?
I mean, that's the classic reincarnation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You come back as something else on Earth, not human. Yeah.
But, like, these sort of ideas, they originated from somewhere, and it might have just been a guy who ate a, you know, magic mushroom and just had these weird, again, like, people are like, well, when you smoke DMT or when you take mushrooms, you're kind of entering a whole new, like, a new realm. You're no longer even in Earth, and some people actually think that you're going to another
somewhere.
place. You know, you're no longer even here. Where do you go when you're dreaming?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't really know the answer, but so around death, my own belief is, probably that my soul will continue its journey. I think there definitely is something after this.
Okay.
100%, but I probably won't be aware of it.
Yeah, you won't know that you're in
the
that
same way
new state.
Yeah, I don't know where I came from or where I'm going now.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same probably in my next role.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. I'm very aware, like, I'm hugely into space, and I'm very aware that when I look up in the night sky, I'm like, there's all this stuff out there. We're just on this rock.
Yeah.
And it starts to really bug me if I think about it too much, but I'm like, who says that we have to live our lives as humans the way that we do? So who... And it's just civilization, right? I get that. But why should there be rules? Why should there be laws? Why should there be all this when ultimately we're just this thing in amongst... We don't even know how much infinity there is out there. And sometimes I just go, like, if I'm feeling a bit stressed out, or I'm feeling like, God, I've got a tax bill to pay, or whatever it is. It's like, why not just go, fuck it? But you can't. It's very difficult to do that. Yeah, there's these people who decide to live off the grid and live off the land and all that. It's maybe all right, but
yeah, but there's people that do abandon ordinary modern day living and just go and live like in, I don't know, the wilderness.
Power to
and
them,
are completely sort of self-sustaining.
They're delighted about it. And
they go and forage to get their own food.
Yeah.
They live, I don't know, you don't need, I mean, people lived without electricity for eons.
Yeah.
And now we have it and it's great, but I mean, you can survive without it. You don't need anything.
No.
Really.
No.
You don't actually need anything. But so I personally think at the moment in the world, there's people at the sort of top, I don't know what you want to call them, New World Order, Illuminati, whatever, or just people with massive wealth that are pulling the strings behind what's actually going on. And you can listen to conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones and David Icke and whatnot, and they'll give you a lot more information on that. But definitely, I mean, the world at the moment works.
Alex Jones off the One Show. And I'm only joking.
Different Alex Jones.
Off of the One Show.
Off of the One Show. I'm not sure she would even know who the other Alex Jones. She will do, because it's probably been confused a number of times.
Yeah.
But, no, Infowars Alex Jones.
I saw some of his stuff recently.
Yeah. I mean, like I do enjoy listening to guys like him and David Icke, but I can only do it for so long before I'm a bit like, okay, some of what you're saying is challenging my sort of core principles a bit too much. But yeah, no, I do think that the world is sort of run by some sort of questionable, maybe slightly evil people, in order for it just to kind of work. Like the system as a whole works because everyone's cooperating to take part in this exercise. Where, capitalism works and government works and rules work and laws and police and all that sort of stuff. It all just like works. But you're right. Like, I would love to see just a massive disruption of all of that. So I become more educated and start to get a deeper understanding of politics and political science and political theory and, the origins of it. And, the idea of anarchy kind of appeals to me. There's a quote, there's no government like no government. Why do we actually need a government? Like, what would it look like without, if there was nobody doing that stuff? Like, societies can still operate totally functionally and successfully without. Because at some stage, the system finds a level of equilibrium where things kind of work.
Yeah, but saying that, if you take like a tribe, then a tribe has elders, and ultimately they're the government of that tribe. So it's
which you would have something. You would
need to have something, but then
you would. It wouldn't necessarily be in the form of the way that the government is at the moment, though. But because things are currently the way they are, I don't think that would work. No. I think people aren't responsible enough.
I think the difference with that example I had there is like the elders of a tribe are generally, you would expect, and I don't know any tribe elders, but I'd like to meet some, are doing it for the good of their people. Whereas politicians who are elected into power, don't get me started on them, but, I mean, do they really give a shit? So, my example.
Do you think nonsense. A lot of them are doing it for personal gain?
Profile.
Money.
That's it.
Yeah. I don't know.
So many of them are so bad at what they do.
It's true. Yeah.
And I just, want to... Actually, our local councillor, Alex Cole-Hamilton, is an absolutely brilliant politician who is making a real difference in the community. But he's one of few that I could actually say, hands up, he's a good person doing it for the right reasons. You just have to go back to the expenses scandal, how they're all just, so many of them were rinsing us effectively for everything they could possibly get from that. And you just think, it just summed it up for me. I don't know. I quite fancy a stab at politics in the future.
Yeah.
If things are going to have to stay like they are, if this is going to be system we're in,
Yeah.
I'd quite like to have a crack.
Yeah. Interesting. Mike McGreal in politics. Wow.
I'm not intelligent enough for it, but it might be. Well, actually, most of them aren't that intelligent. So
Who would you vote for tomorrow in a general election?
well, like people that are senior in current parties.
What political party would you vote for?
Oh man, without Corbyn, I'd be voting Labour, but I think that he's made a lot of big errors recently. To be honest, I am not hugely political, so
I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
no, I know enough about it, but I would never identify as a Tory, as a Labour supporter, as quite often I have voted for what I believe is right for the kind of then and now.
Yes.
So I voted SNP in the past because I loved what they were doing with education and healthcare. I have never voted Tory. But despite that, when I had a biggish team of people in Velocity and David Cameron was in power, the Tory government did some fantastic things around making it easier for businesses with national insurance and corporation tax.
Yeah.
And that immediately affected my life in a positive way at that moment in time. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think if more people, and it's such a romantic idea, but if more, not idea, but kind of notion, if more people with truly doing good at the heart of, we're at the heart of politics, then it would just be better.
Yeah.
And I think like Sadiq Khan's someone I really respect.
Okay.
Did I get his name right there?
Yeah.
I respect him so much that I wasn't sure that I got his name right. But I like how he's so forthright, and I think he seems to be someone who is genuinely trying to do good for the people of London, the country, the mega state almost that is London.
Yeah.
It's obviously not an actual country, but it might as well be in terms of how everything works there. But and it's like, to me, if he was at the top of the overall tree, then we'd be in a better place in many ways. And but he's in a nice position where he doesn't have to kind of acquiesce to anything.
Be involved in politics.
Yeah. Like he's not a politician as such,
No.
but he is by the nature of what he has to do, and a lot of the not services, but a lot of the duties he carries out are similar to that of a high level politician.
Yeah.
I always really liked Chuka Akpom. No, that's not his surname. Labour guy.
Yeah,
young
I know who
guy.
you mean.
Always he was a bit more kind of relaxed and casual, and he was very forthright about everything. What's his name? Chuka. Is it Chuka? Oh,
yeah, I think I know.
Showing my ignorance here. But he, around the time of the Tories getting their second swing at it or whatever, was getting propped up, and then he never went in it. He never went in the leadership race, and I remember it was Corbyn actually. Yeah, so I don't know, but again, I don't look too deeply into these things because I think you can waste a lot of time and get really wound up over things that you're never going to change unless you do actually start some sort of movement. But
there's people that are close to me who I say that to all the time, who they get themselves irate and very wound up about political matters, and I'm like, well, unless you're going to go out and start campaigning or actually create a movement, then it's kind of all in vain. There's no point in this. You're basically just getting your cortisol levels raised and getting yourself towards an early grave.
And a movement isn't having
point.
30 people using the same hashtag on Twitter saying we're anti-Brexit. No, it's like something has to actually move.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, it's just too easy for people to go, I'm doing so well with this. Yeah, but okay, right. What's actually changing now?
What makes you the happiest in life?
Oh, definitely my family, my kids.
Yeah.
Seeing the boys growing up. We're expecting our third, another boy.
Wow.
Just that chapter of my life has been very, very happy, and having a really strong relationship with my wife Julie, and bringing these boys into the world and trying to help each other raise them as much as we can. It's definitely that. Outside of that sort of thing, I do genuinely get a kick out of just trying new things, seeing new places, been lucky enough to travel a lot. And I've got a weird thing though. So 2 weeks ago, I had to go to Wrexham and Hull to work, to do some filming. Never been to Wrexham and Hull. Might not go back. However, absolutely loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
I loved getting in the car with all the camera gear and going somewhere. And that's the sort of thing that a lot of people in business who get to travel to New York and all this sort of stuff would be like, oh God.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of joy out of being in the car and driving that 6 hours, or just little things. I'm not. And I think it goes back to when I was talking about the whole Audi thing. I'm not picking on Audi drivers or Audis, but I don't really care about stuff like that. I'm quite simple and quite simple as well, but no, I'm quite simple in terms of how I verge happiness and what I see as success.
So if you woke up tomorrow and had like £10 million in the bank, in what way would you be different?
I'd be less stressed out because I would know that I'm comfortable for many lifetimes with that sort of money. I think.
Would you be doing what you're currently doing?
I would take a chunk of that money and make things move faster than they currently are, or currently will. I've always said that if I was to win the lottery or someone was to give me a bunch of cash for whatever reason, that I would keep working. But I think I would probably, it might be really detrimental to me because I would start trying to do 10 different things all at once like I've tried to do in the past, and then they would all suffer in some way. But yeah, I might, go and spend some of it on a nicer car, but I wouldn't necessarily go out and buy a Lamborghini, for example. Like, I like my technology, and there's cars out there. Like, I drive a Seat Ateca. It is a nice car, don't get me wrong. I souped it up. I got all the top technology in it, but I wanted the technology, and they were leading the way with certain things. So I was like, cool, that's a car I want. Just things like that. I don't know. But nah, I don't know if I'd want 10 million. Because actually, it's more than you're ever going to need. It's more than you're going to leave for anyone. I would genuinely, and everyone's going to say this, but I would take a big chunk of it and try and help out certain parts of society with it.
Yeah, which is exactly what I was going to say. It's not necessarily what you yourself need or can do with the money. It's what that then allows you to do in a wider sense.
Yeah.
Because if you're only thinking about yourself and what you can buy, that's limited.
Yeah.
Very limited. But you can transform the lives of a lot of people. Which would be I often think about that, if I won the lottery tomorrow, and it was, I don't play the lottery, but if I won 100 million or something, like, I would, seriously, I could think very quickly, well, I would probably get that, and that's about it, and then beyond that, I'd be like, well, actually, where can I make a really positive difference for other people? Or, a sustainable way to bring water to Africa or something. Yeah, we do that. Because, what do I need?
There's only so much you need.
Yeah.
And I think that's again, where people strive for something that they don't need, and they become miserable when they don't get it. And then look back and go, oh, God, why was I always just trying to be in the 5-star hotel, whereas my family and I would have had as good a time in a 3-star hotel. Why did I decide that everything in my wardrobe has to be from Armani? I don't know.
Yeah.
So to me, money is about comfort and a bit of freedom. And I feel like I've managed to achieve that over the years now. Got a house that's great for the family. We don't struggle to pay the mortgage. We're not racked in debt. In fact, the mortgage is the only debt that we have because we worked hard to try and make sure that was the case. The thought of living out with my means just so I could have certain things scares the living daylights out of me. Like, that gives me the fear big time.
Yeah.
I'm not someone that walks through life being scared of everything, but scared of being in masses of debt just to try and live a certain way. That freaks me out.
So a lot of people live.
They do.
Yeah.
Rentals on these cars that they don't need and they can't actually afford. and you just live your whole mortality in this debt, and then you just die, and it doesn't matter because you're dead.
Yeah.
Who's paying that?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. You just think, yeah, it's all wild. But
yeah, but well, I can certainly think back to my 20-year-old self or something was very much locked within that way of thinking.
Yeah.
Because it never occurred to me to even challenge the way that I thought.
Yeah.
That's something that really has happened when I got into personal development, I guess, maybe around the age of about 28.
You need something to prod you sometimes to waken up a bit.
Yeah.
And I had that exact, and I was young. I was maybe 12, and I said to my dad, why does life just seem like a big conveyor belt where you're born, you get an education, you get a job, you get a partner, you get a house, you have kids, and then you just die. And I was like, God, I don't want to necessarily live my life like that. And in some ways I have. But,
Yeah.
But, I don't know. There's no right way to live any life.
Yeah, it's true. Provided you're personally fulfilled, then each to their own.
Yeah, and
sure.
You're not going around murdering people and hurting people and and making people feel awful about themselves. I think they're things you never want to do. But
although
there's no manual.
The murdering people one's an interesting one. Like if I watched, I don't know if you've seen Dexter.
But odds and ends.
Yeah, well, he kills people that are like the worst people on the planet.
Yeah.
I don't have much of a problem with that.
Yeah.
So murder when it's in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a vigilante killer, but
yeah. What would your name be if you were? Would you have like a alter ego, kind of like Daredevil? But
I don't know.
It's an impossible question because let's face it, you're never going to do it, and you've probably not put much thought into it.
I haven't, but I'll need to now.
Yeah.
I was thinking about some sort of do-gooder type.
Yeah.
Do-good.
It's a surname. It's a Scottish surname.
Exactly.
Spelled nowhere near how you'd expect it to be. Dear.
So what's in the pipeline for Get-Go?
Got lots of irons in the fire, so to speak, about in terms of a lot of potential jobs, and I'm just trying to close them off. Just a lot of excitement, to be honest. It's just a huge opportunity right now.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough to be able to say that without really marketing things yet, I don't even have a full website up.
Yeah.
There's opportunities coming the business's way.
You don't really need a website nowadays, actually, to do business. I mean, obviously, it's good to have one, but I honestly think that you can have a business without having a website.
Yeah, I mean, Get-Go is effectively in that stage right now. It'll get to a point where it's not okay me saying to people who inquire, well, we've got things that are in the editing phase just now, because when you're creating something like a video, people want to see what they're going to get. But yeah, I could just say, there's a Vimeo channel, look at that. You know how to find me. I'm all over social media. I mean, I do think, however, our website's important for a fundamental reason that you are in complete control of what happens on that and you own that entity. If you rely on social media too much and things change and then your audience starts to slip so a website from that perspective, having that one piece of control is hugely valuable.
Yes.
Even from a search engine perspective.
Yeah.
Because currently if you search for Get-Go Studio, the landing page ain't even there. The first thing that I think shows up at the moment is either the Twitter account or the Instagram account.
Yeah, in the Google rankings.
In the search engine results. And then the LinkedIn company page is really high. But I hate LinkedIn company pages because I think they're terrible. So I'm not keeping that up to date that much. But that's the first thing that people are seeing.
Yeah.
So a huge part of the early success of Get-Go has been networking, like actual face-to-face events, spreading the word. Because it's actually quite an easy thing to sell. I do video either in the studio or we come to you and we make it happen, versus I do digital marketing strategy, which is this huge thing. It's quite hard to nail down in that little bit of chat you get with somebody. So Yeah. But yeah, just loads of exciting stuff. And obviously Velocity still goes. I've got some clients there. Big opportunity coming up with that. And it's going to, I'm hoping, get to a point soon where I need to expand the team a bit.
Mm-hmm. Exciting times.
Yeah.
It's awesome. That's 2.5 hours. Mate.
Jeez, oh.
Crazy, eh?
I really need the toilet now.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Right, okay, we'll wrap things up. Where can people find you?
Mike_McGrail on Twitter. The best place to kind of check out what I'm up to would be the Get Go Studio Instagram. Just search for Get Go, GETGO Studio, and you'll find me there. And hook up on LinkedIn, because I'm very active there as well.
Cool. Well, if anyone's got to this stage, thanks for watching. It's been quite a journey.
Jesus, I know.
But Mike, thanks so much for coming, man.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. It's been a blast chatting with you.
Enjoyed it. Yeah. Thanks, man.
I'll let you go.
Cheers. Bye.